Hey guys, tonight we slip straight into the frozen breath of the north, into a world where the wind feels like it has teeth, where spruce trees creak like old warriors, and where you, yes you, open your eyes to discover that your entire life is about to tilt into something far wilder than you ever expected. The morning mist sticks to your eyelashes, the cold nips your fingertips, and in the distance, wolves sing like they already know your name. It's a beautiful place to wake up unless you're destined for the Berserker path. In which case, yeah, you probably won't survive this. No pressure though. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You push yourself upright on a bed of fur pelts, breath clouding in front of your face as the longhouse roof creaks under a blanket of snow. It's early, too early. Even the hearth fire has sunk into low embers, glowing like sleepy dragon eyes. Outside the wooden walls, ravens complain loudly, hopping from branch to branch, as if delivering gossip from the gods. You rub your eyes and try to shake off the dream, the one that has been stalking you for nights now. Claws, teeth, a low growl you can't quite place. You don't tell anyone about it yet. Not the old women weaving fishnets by lamplight. Not the men sharpening scrapers for the next seal hunt. Definitely not the kids your age who'd turn your dream into an entire saga, probably one where you're running away squealing while a squirrel chases you. Kids are ruthless like that, even in the Viking age. As you walk through the longhouse, your footsteps silent on the reed mats, you feel the eyes of carved wooden posts following you. The Norse loved decorating everything: ships, furniture, combs, even their drinking horns, and these support posts are carved with twisting serpents and snarling wolves. One detail your sleepy mind notices: the runes on the nearest post look freshly oiled. Someone tended to them in the night. Outside, the morning hits you like an icy slap. Snow squeaks under your boots, smoke drifts lazily from chimneys, and the fjord glows with pale blue light. This early in your life, you're still more child than warrior, but you already stand out. You grow faster, run harder, yell louder. You don't mean to. It's just there, a restless furnace under your ribs. A fisherman trudging by gives you a nod. You're awake early again. He sounds amused. Or maybe wary. Hard to tell. Viking men aren't exactly known for their emotional expressiveness. They're basically walking slabs of stoicism with beards attached. You shrug. Bad dreams. He grunts, which in Viking language means either, I understand, or I didn't. To understand anything you just said, but don't want to admit it. Then he keeps walking. The village is small, maybe 20 longhouses tucked between cliffs and sea. A mix of smoke, dogs, salted fish, and pine resin fills the air. You stroll toward the shoreline, where a few wooden boats are pulled up on skids. Kids are already out, throwing snow at each other, using shields as sleds. One of them calls your name. Come play. You almost go, almost, but something in you feels heavier today. Not sad, more like significant. Like the universe nudged you and said, hey, pay attention. You turn instead toward a quiet path leading uphill to an outcropping overlooking the village. A place where elders sometimes go to think, which is code for escape the noise of children practicing axe throws on the wrong tree again. As you climb, the air grows sharper, your breath puffing like tiny storm clouds. Snowflakes catch in your hair. Halfway up, you pause to watch a distant longship cut across the fjord. Oars rhythmic, its dragon-head prow slicing through the water. Even from here, you can see the men aboard moving in perfect unison. Vikings weren't just raiders, they were unbelievably skilled sailors. That's one of the real historical facts you tuck away. Their navigation methods, relying on sunstones and coastal memory, still fascinate modern maritime scholars. Historians still argue whether certain sun compass devices found in Greenland functioned as navigation tools or religious symbols. You keep climbing until you reach the top, where a circle of ancient stones stands half buried in snow. The place radiates quiet importance. A few ravens hop around the stones, eyeing you the way ravens eye everyone, that is, judgmentally. They're basically the original drama critics of the Viking world. You sit, hugging your knees, watching your village hum with early morning life. And then it hits you again, that dream twinge. A whisper of fur on your skin, a flash of teeth, something wild pacing within you. You close your eyes. The dream returns instantly. A forest thick and dark as pitch. Snow falling so softly it barely touches the ground. A great creature, massive as hunger itself, circling you. You don't run. You stand your ground, even when your heart tries to leap out of your chest. The creature steps into the moonlight, breath steaming. A bear, but its eyes glow like embers. You gasp awake on the hilltop. The ravens caw sharply, offended that you startled them. Your pulse thunders. You've heard the stories. Sometimes animals choose people. Sometimes the gods interfere. And sometimes dreams are just dreams, though in the Norse world, everyone pretends they know the difference while absolutely not knowing the difference. You push snow off your cloak and stand. You know one thing for sure. Today feels like the first page of a saga. And you're not sure you're ready, but the wind, the ravens, even the quiet stones seem to whisper that it doesn't matter. Destiny doesn't wait for you to feel prepared. It just arrives. You trudge back down the hill with your heart still thumping, the last traces of the ember-eyed bear fading from behind your eyelids. Snow crunches under your boots, and for a moment you swear the rhythm matches your pulse, fast, uneven, like something inside you is trying to claw its way out. Not in a scary, I need a healer way, more in a, congratulations, you might be a problem for everyone around you way. Which, let's be honest, fits the job description of a berserker pretty well. As you reach the cluster of longhouses again, you spot old Brynhilda sweeping snow away from a doorway with a birch broom. She's the village's unofficial information network. She knows everything. Who's courting whom, who burned the stew, who snuck out at midnight to avoid chores, especially you. The moment her eyes narrow at you, you know she's clocked something. You're pale, she says. Bad dreams? You nod. No point lying. Brynhilda can smell a lie like a wolf smells a wounded hare. She taps the broom on the ground. Dreams can be warnings, or invitations, or just a sign you shouldn't have eaten dried fish before bed. She pauses. But you've always had those eyes. You blink. What eyes? Storm eyes, she says simply. Same as your grandfather. You knew your grandfather was a warrior, but most of the stories about him end before they really begin. People stop mid-sentence as if they've hit some invisible wall. That alone makes your stomach coil. A weird, warm, twisting sense of inheritance settles over you. Before you can ask more, Brynhilda shuffles off, muttering about people tracking snow into houses as if snow weren't the entire personality of your homeland. You head to the training yard, really just a flattened patch of trampled snow behind the longhouses. Kids are swinging sticks at each other, arguing about who gets to be Thor this time. One kid shouts, "You can't be Thor twice. That's against the rules." Another screams back, "Thor doesn't have rules." You smile despite yourself. Then you see him, Jorund, the local blacksmith's son, your unofficial rival and extremely official nuisance. He's bigger, older, and has exactly the kind of smirk that makes you want to throw a snowball at his face. You try to avoid him, but of course he sees you. "Bad night?" he asks, grin widening. "Heard you talking in your sleep again." Loud. You roll your eyes. "I wasn't talking. You were. Sounded like you were arguing with a bear." You freeze. He laughs. "Don't worry, little cub. Bears don't listen." You want to snap back, but the heat rising through your chest is too sudden, too sharp. It's not anger, well, okay. It is anger, but it feels different. Like something coils behind your ribs, ready to strike. A flicker of heat travels, up your spine. For a split second, you swear your vision narrows as if the world is sharpening around you. You unclench your fists before you do something stupid. A fringe historical theory pops into your head, one you overheard last month from a traveling merchant. Some scholars still argue whether berserker rage was triggered by psychological conditioning, intoxicating herbs, or just people being naturally unhinged. You're starting to suspect the last one applies more than anyone admits. Jorund shrugs and walks off, bored now that he's poked you like a stick in a wasp nest. You breathe deeply, calm, 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 totally calm. You're basically a serene puddle. Ignore the part of you that wants to flip a wagon. Eventually, you step into the small side hut where children learn runes. Your teacher, Old Calf, sits cross-legged on a reindeer pelt, carving symbols into wood with a bone-handled knife. He's the village's rune master patient, wise, and approximately 80% eyebrows. He looks up as you enter. "Ah. You came early," he says. "Couldn't sleep," you mutter. He nods knowingly. "Dreams again." Sit. You settle on the floor as Calf hands you a smooth wooden tablet. Carve the rune Tiwaz, he instructs. The rune of honor, law, and sacrifice. You start carving. Each stroke shaves a curl of wood. Your hands feel steady, surprisingly so. Then Calf says something that makes your blood thrum. Some spirits speak through dreams. It is said that warriors marked by fate first feel it in childhood. There were signs when you were much younger, strength beyond your size, a temper like a winter storm. And once, if you recall, you bit the arm of a much larger boy. You wince. He stole my bread. He was 3 years older, Calf chuckles. You were 5. You keep carving. And now, Calf continues softly, the dreams begin. The bear, fire in the eyes, a guardian perhaps, or a warning. His brows draw together. Historians still argue whether berserkers truly bonded with spirit animals, or whether these visions were metaphors for an internal battle. But in our world, symbols have teeth. You swallow hard. Your carving hand trembles. A thin line cuts deeper than intended. Not ruinous, but noticeable. Calf places a gentle hand on your wrist. Easy. Runes respond to mood. I'm fine. You lie. He gives you a look that says you are absolutely not fine, but doesn't push. Finish the rune, then go. You'll want your strength for training. Training. The word hums in your bones. You return the knife, thank your teacher, and step back outside. The snow has begun to fall again. Slow, quiet flakes drifting like feathers. You walk toward the clearing, where a larger group gathers for physical drills. The air tastes like pine and cold metal. And again, that feeling hits you. Something is changing. Something is building. The dream wasn't just a dream. The restlessness isn't just childhood energy. It's the first spark of something older, deeper, wilder, the first runes of rage. And the north is watching. You arrive at the training yard just as the sun struggles over the jagged mountains, casting a thin ribbon of gold over the snow. The cold air smacks you awake better than any morning routine modern people brag about, you know. The whole ice bath at 5 a.m. Trend Vikings pioneered unintentionally, simply by existing. Your breath fogs in front of you as you step into the circle of packed snow, where young warriors in training gather, each bundled in layers of fur and wool. Your mentor, the man the village kids privately call the Old Bear, stands waiting. His real name is Halfdan, but no one uses it. With shoulders like tree trunks and a beard so big it could legally register as a separate person, he's the sort of man people instinctively step around, just in case. Halfdan has survived battles, winters, and more feasts than any stomach should bear. He's also the only person in the entire village who can silence a crowd simply by clearing his throat. He watches you approach with sharp grey eyes. You're late. I'm early, you answer. You're late to being early, he replies, which is a kind of logic only elders and grumpy warriors can get away with. Despite the cold, you feel heat flood your cheeks. You bow your head slightly. Halfdan grunts approvingly. Good. Humility. Keeps the skull intact. You're not sure that's historically accurate, but you let him have it. The other trainees, boys, girls, a few older teens, stand in uneven lines, holding wooden practice weapons. A thin layer of frost covers everything. Someone coughs. A dog barks in the distance. Halfdan steps forward. Today, he announces, we test strength, focus, and control. Your stomach flips. Control. The one thing you've been struggling with since the dream first hunted you. Halfdan's gaze lingers on you a little longer than necessary, as if he can sense the storm simmering inside your chest. Pair up, he shouts. You move automatically, but hesitate when Jorund saunters over, tapping the end of his wooden sword against his palm. Looks like I'm with you, he smirks. Of course he is. The universe has jokes. Halfdan signals for combat to begin, and instantly the yard fills with dull thuds, grunts, and the occasional yelp. You raise your weapon, trying to focus not on Jorund's smug grin, not on the dream bear, definitely not on the fire bubbling under your ribs. Jorund swings first, harder than necessary. The blow rattles your arms. You recover quickly, stepping back on instinct. Your body knows this dance, even if your mind feels scattered. He swings again, this time aiming low. You block, pivot, and retaliate with a controlled strike to his shoulder. It lands with a satisfying crack, though not enough to injure. Jorund blinks, surprised. Oh, he says. You actually came to fight. Isn't that the point? You reply. But something inside you shifts. Your vision sharpens. Every sound becomes crisp. The scrape of boots, the snap of wood, the hiss of someone's breath. You feel the heat rising again. Not just physical warmth, something hotter, wilder, older. Historians still argue whether Berserker rage was triggered by consumption of fly agaric mushrooms, rhythmic chanting, or intense psychological conditioning. But what you feel right now doesn't need mushrooms or chants. It feels like a bear's heartbeat pounding in your chest. Jurund swings again, fast. You block without thinking. Then another strike. You dodge so smoothly, it feels like the world slowed down around you. A strange buzzing fills your ears. Your hands tremble, but not in fear. Jurund pauses, frowning. Why are you looking at me like that? You blink and step back. The buzzing fades. The world rushes back in. Sweat trickles down your spine despite the cold. Enough, Halfdan calls, raising a hand. The yard quiets instantly. Halfdan walks toward the two of you, snow crunching under his heavy boots. He looks between you and Jurund. Good effort, he says, though his eyes stay on you. But your mind wasn't settled. You swallow. I'm fine. He shakes his head. Your stance says otherwise. And your eyes. He narrows his gaze. The storm is growing. Your pulse stutters. What storm? Halfdan doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he gestures for everyone to gather around. Once they form a semicircle, he speaks loudly. There is strength, he says, and there is wildness. A warrior must have both. But if the wildness rules you, you become a danger to yourself and to your shield brothers. His words hit a little too close. He turns back to you specifically. That's why I'm watching you. His voice drops, softer but heavier. Because strength without control leads to ruin. You nod slowly. I'm trying. I know, he says. That is why you will stay after training. We will work on stillness. Stillness. The thing you lack most. You brace yourself. Training continues. You spar with two other fighters, then practice weapon drills, then endurance exercises running through knee-high snow, lifting stones, gripping ropes suspended from poles. Each task pushes your muscles harder than the last. Sweat turns cold on your skin. Your breath burns in your chest. But through all of it, that same inner heat pulses steadily, like a beast pacing behind a door. The others tire. You do too, but you push past it. You've always pushed past it. Another historical fact slips into your thoughts. Viking training wasn't constant or regimented like modern military drills. Kids learned by doing farm work, hunting, rough play, and occasional structured sessions. Real training happened through experience, not schedules. You're living proof. When the session ends, everyone scatters laughing, groaning, rubbing sore arms. You stay. Halfdan beckons you toward the tree line. As you follow him into the quiet hush of the forest, snow muffling every sound, he finally speaks. You're changing, he says. I've seen it before. Once. Who? You ask. He stops beside a gnarled pine tree. Your grandfather. Your throat tightens. You've heard fragments, stories of rage, of unmatched strength, but nothing clear, nothing whole. Halfdan places a hand on your shoulder. I trained him too. The storm ran hot in him, but he learned to guide it, to bind it, to become its master, not its prey. You stare at him. Can I do the same? Halfdan's eyes soften. That is why we start now. He gestures for you to sit on a flat stone. You obey. Close your eyes, he instructs. Listen. Feel. But do not react. You try. You breathe in the cold. Your heartbeat slows. The forest groans softly in the wind. A raven caws far above. Then heat. Rising. Coiling. Scratching. The storm returns. And for the first time, you don't run from it. You lean in. Halfdan's voice becomes a distant rumble as the world narrows, the beast inside pressing against your chest, whispering through your veins. Strength, wildness, fire. But also, beneath it all, a shape. Massive, familiar, a bear, waiting, watching. And the training has only just begun. You sit there on the cold stone for what feels like hours, snow drifting softly around you like feathers shaken loose from the sky. Halfdan circles you slowly. Arms crossed, studying you with the same intensity a hawk gives a rabbit that's pretending not to be terrified. The storm inside you coils and uncoils, pacing just beneath the surface. You breathe, trying to follow Halfdan's instructions, listen, feel, but do not react. Easier said than done when every nerve feels like it's humming with an invisible fire. Good, Halfdan says quietly. You're not fighting it. I'm not. It sure feels like fighting. You're breathing instead of panicking. A start. He squats down in front of you, his massive frame blocking the wind. Now, he continues, tapping a thick finger against your chest. What you feel is not madness, not danger. It is power. But power without shape is chaos. You must give it a shape. You blink. What shape? That's for you to learn, he says, straightening. But by tradition, it begins with the ritual. Your pulse jumps. You know what he means. Every village whispers about it. Every child imagines it. Few actually reach it. The wolfskin ritual. Or in your case, maybe not wolf at all. You follow Halfdan deeper into the forest, where the trees grow taller, darker, older. Snow clings to the branches in thick layers. Your boots crunch on the frost, each step sending a tiny shock of cold up your legs. You swear the forest watches you the whole way, shadows shifting, branches leaning, ravens hopping from limb to limb like an escort. A quirky historical tidbit drifts through your mind. Vikings believe certain groves were sacred, inhabited by spirits or gods. Cutting the wrong tree could anger something invisible and powerful. Some scholars think this belief blended into Berserker traditions, the idea that a warrior's animal spirit lived in the forest around them. You're kind of hoping whatever spirit is stalking you has a polite temperament. Eventually, Halfdan pushes aside a curtain of hanging moss to reveal a clearing you've never before seen. In the center stands a massive stone altar, draped in pelts, wolf, fox, lynx, and bear. The bear pelt is enormous, thick and golden brown, shimmering even in the dim light. The sight makes your throat tighten. Halfdan nods toward it. Not many dream of bears, he says. Not many survive the calling. You swallow hard. What do I do? For now, touch the pelt. That's it? Touch it? Sounds easy. Should be easy. But your hand trembles as you approach. The closer you get, the heavier the air feels. Your heartbeat syncs with something. Something deep, slow, ancient. The forest goes still, as if holding its breath. You kneel and place your hand on the bear pelt. Instantly, the world drops away. The snow disappears, the trees dissolve, the cold becomes a distant memory. You stand in a shadowed forest where moonlight slants through branches like silver blades. Every sound is amplified, the crackle of frost under your feet, the distant hoot of an owl, the whisper of wind through dead leaves. And then you hear it. Breathing. Not yours. Something massive moves between the trees, slow, heavy, confident. You turn your head, but the shape stays hidden, slipping behind trunks just as you glimpse it. Your pulse hammers. Show yourself, you whisper, though your voice barely works. A deep rumble answers. Not a threat, not quite a greeting either, more like acknowledgement. Then the bear steps into the moonlight. It's gigantic, fur thick as winter clouds, eyes glowing ember red, exactly like your dream. It looks at you as if measuring something inside your bones, and you, despite every rational instinct screaming run, just stand there, frozen, entranced, terrified, chosen. The bear lowers its head and presses its forehead gently to yours. Heat floods through you so fast you gasp. Voices, yes, plural, whisper through your mind. Old, rough, layered. Words you don't understand but feel all the same. Your breath becomes steam. Your heartbeat slows until it matches the bear's rhythm, deep and steady. Then the vision snaps. You're back in the clearing, hand clenched on the pelt, body shaking like you just sprinted a mile uphill with a sack of stones. Halfdan stands beside you, arms folded, watching silently. You saw it, he says. Not a question. I think so. You manage. He nods once. Then the road ahead is set. You're dizzy, overwhelmed, and maybe a little hungry. Vision quests burn calories, apparently. You sit down heavily on a fallen log. Halfdan tugs the bear pelt off the altar and drapes it over your shoulders. The weight is staggering. The warmth, instant. This doesn't make you a berserker yet, he warns. It only means the spirit acknowledged you. You nod weakly. Now comes the learning, he continues. Now comes control. Rage without direction is ruin. Rage with purpose. He taps the pelt. That becomes legend. You try to form a response, but your brain feels like mush. Your body hums with leftover energy, hot, electric, alive. The forest seems brighter, clearer. Every sound stands out. A raven caws from a branch above. Another swoops down, lands beside Halfdan, and tilts its head at you like it's judging your life choices. Very helpful, Halfdan chuckles. The spirits watch. Best behave. You close your eyes briefly, the bear's heartbeat still echoing faintly through your bones. You're not sure if you feel empowered or overwhelmed. Maybe both. Probably both. Halfdan claps you on the shoulder gently, but it still nearly knocks you off the log. Come, we have more to do before the snow grows deeper. As he leads you back toward the village, the pelt warm on your shoulders, you realize one thing clearly. Whatever is awakening inside you is no longer a possibility. It's a promise. And the wolfskin ritual has only just begun. You return from the forest with Halfdan, the bear pelt still draped around your shoulders like a warm, slightly judgmental hug. Snowflakes catch in its fur, melting instantly from the heat radiating off your skin. You feel different, lighter, and heavier at the same time, as if something enormous has curled up inside your chest and decided to nap there indefinitely. The village looks exactly the same as when you left, thin smoke trails rising from longhouse chimneys, dogs barking at nothing in particular, a few kids chasing each other with sticks, but you are no longer the same. Halfdan walks in silence beside you. He doesn't ask what you saw. He doesn't need to. The vision clings to you like cold air. The glowing eyes, the giant frame, the breath that steamed like furnace smoke. The bear didn't threaten you. It didn't attack. It simply looked into you, as if reading your soul like an open scroll. When you reach the Longhouse district, Halfdan stops and puts a hand the size of a small boulder on your shoulder. Tonight, he says, you will see the seer. Your stomach drops. Why? To confirm what you saw, to guide the path, and, he adds dryly, to make sure you don't sprout claws and maul anyone in your sleep. You blink. Is that a possibility? Historians still argue whether berserkers truly shapeshifted, he says with a shrug. But better safe than sorry. Very comforting. You spend the next few hours trying and failing to be normal. You help gather firewood. You carry water from the well. You attempt to eat dried cod without looking like you're chewing on regret. But everything feels sharper. You hear the crunch of snow from meters away. You can smell the pitch in the torches. Even the laughter of kids playing near the fjord sounds different, layered, rich. At one point, Brynhilda passes by, squinting at you suspiciously. You're glowing. I'm what? Glowing. Like you swallowed a candle. She narrows her eyes further. Did you touch something you shouldn't have? A rune? A cursed amulet? Jarun's leftover fish stew? No. You insist. Just training, she snorts. That's not training. That's fate walking ahead of you like it owns the path. Before you can respond, she shuffles off, muttering something about children attracting too much spiritual attention. By late afternoon, the sky darkens, clouds rolling in thick and heavy. You wrap your cloak tighter around you and follow Halfdan to the seer's hut at the edge of the village. The hut is small, circular, built partly into the hillside with a turf roof. Strange charms hang from the doorway feathers, bones, carved bits of driftwood. A few of the bones look suspiciously large. You're hoping they're not human. Halfdan knocks once and steps aside. A voice from inside calls, "Enter." You duck under the charms and slip into the dim interior. The place smells like smoke, herbs, and something slightly sweet. Maybe mead. Maybe something magical. Maybe something magical mixed with mead. A fire burns low in a stone pit, casting a warm orange glow across the space. Seated beside it is Idis, the village seer. She's younger than most expect, no more than 40, but her eyes carry a depth that feels older than stone. Her hair is braided with small talismans that clink together softly when she moves. She gestures for you to sit on a cushion of reindeer fur. You felt the calling, she says without preamble. I think so. You saw the bear. You nod. Good, she murmurs. Then the path reveals itself faster than expected. She leans forward, studying you the way a scholar studies a rare artifact. Tell me everything. You recount the clearing, the stone altar, the pelt, the dream forest, the glowing eyes, the forehead touch, the heat that surged through you. Idis listens with the stillness of someone who is very used to hearing things normal people would panic about. When you finish, she closes her eyes and breathes deeply. You carry an old spirit, she says. Not the wildest, not the gentlest, but one of balance. Bears are guardians, protectors, strength with patience, wrath with restraint. Is that good? Idis tilts her head. It depends on you. Great. Very reassuring. She reaches for a small pouch and tosses a handful of runes onto the floor. The pieces scatter, clicking softly on the stone. She studies them, brow furrowing. What? You ask, immediately regretting it. She looks at you with an expression that is complicated. 2 runes speak loudly. Awa's transformation, endurance, and Uru's untamed strength. These together suggest you have the potential to become a powerful guardian. But, her fingers hover over a smaller rune. This one concerns me. What is it? Hagalaz, she says. Destruction. Disruption. The storm. Your throat tightens. Is that bad? Not inherently, she replies. Storms destroy, yes, but they also cleanse, rebuild, reshape. She fixes you with a steady gaze, but wielding such force without guidance can tear apart everything you love. You swallow. Then how do I control it? Idis smiles faintly. You already began. The bear touched you. That means it sees potential rather than danger. She reaches into another pouch and draws out a small talisman, a carved bear tooth suspended on leather. Wear this, she says. It will steady the connection and remind you that strength has 2 faces. You slip the talisman over your head. The tooth rests warm against your chest, as if alive. Idis nods. Now go. Tomorrow begins the next stage. You stand slowly, legs shaky, and step out into the evening air. Snow drifts lazily, glowing faintly in the moonlight. Halfdan waits outside, arms crossed. Well? He asks. You hold up the talisman. She said, I have potential. Halfdan huffs. Potential makes for good stories. Hard work makes for good warriors. But she also said I'm stormy. He gives you a sideways glance. Kid, I knew that before you did. You laugh weakly, and he leads you back toward the village. The wind picks up, swirling snow around your boots. The talisman's weight sits warm against your skin. As you walk, you realize something. The visions weren't warnings. They were invitations. And now, the spirit inside you has opened its eyes. Tomorrow, you begin learning what that really means. You wake before dawn, long before the first hint of pale winter light touches the tops of the pines. Something pulls you from sleep, not fear, not a noise, but a pulse. A rhythm. Slow, heavy, familiar. It vibrates faintly through your chest like a memory tapping you awake. When you sit up, the bear-toothed talisman swings forward and thumps gently against your sternum, as if saying, get up, we're not done yet. You rub the sleep from your eyes and step out of the longhouse. The world is still. Snow lies untouched, glistening under a sky full of stars. Your breath fogs in the freezing air. In the distance, the forge is already lit, its warm, orange glow flickering in the half-dark like a beacon. You know instantly, today is the day you make your first axe. Not just any axe, your axe. And that thought alone sends a ripple of excitement down your spine. You follow the sound of metal striking metal, slow, deliberate, rhythmic. It's not the hurried clanging of a busy blacksmith, but the measured hammering of someone shaping something important, something personal. When you push open the heavy wooden door of the forge, a wave of heat hits your face, instantly banishing the cold that clung to your bones. Inside, sparks fly in bright arcs. The blacksmith, Finna, stands at the anvil broad-shouldered, soot-covered, hair tied back with a strip of leather. He barely glances up before grunting. You're early. You smile. Everyone keeps telling me that. Good, he replies. Means you might actually survive what's coming. People in this village have a real talent for comforting pep talks. Finna plunges a glowing lump of metal back into the coals. Halfdan came last night, he says. Told me you're ready. Ready for what? He gives you a look. For making your weapon. The one that will carry your spirit. The one you'll carry into raids and battles, and the occasional drunken wrestling match. You blink. I don't wrestle. You will. he says. Everyone wrestles. Even the goats wrestle. We're a violent people. Have you noticed? You can't help but laugh. Finna cracks a smile too rare, quick, but real. He gestures to a work table where several axe heads lie in various stages of creation. Before you choose a design, he says, you need to understand something. He picks up a small, beautifully shaped axe head, etched with knotwork. This is not a weapon. He sets it down, picks up another. This is a tool. Then finally, a heavy double-bladed head, blunt with incomplete shaping. This might become a weapon. You frown. What's the difference? Finna points at your chest. A weapon is not made of iron. It's made of you. Your focus, your patience, your rage, your purpose. He leans closer, lowering his voice. Historians still argue whether berserkers used specialized weapons or simply anything they could swing. But the truth is, you'll fight best with the tool your spirit recognizes. He steps back. Now, tell me, what shape do you feel? You hesitate. The question seems too abstract, too mystical. What shape? How are you supposed to know? Then you remember the vision, the massive bear, the glowing eyes, the weight of its fur on your shoulders. You remember the way it moved, powerful but deliberate, strength with patience, wrath with restraint. You say quietly, something, balanced, heavy, but not unwieldy. Finna's eyebrows lift. Good. A single-bladed axe then. Strong cut, steady grip. He rummages through a pile of iron blanks until he holds up one with a thick spine and a slightly curved edge. This one. He places it in your hands. It's cold at first, then warm, then something else entirely, a vibrating hum that feels almost like recognition. You swallow hard. Finna notices. Ah, it likes you. I didn't know iron could like people. It can't, he says. But your spirit can. Right. Totally normal. Absolutely not terrifying. He leads you through the process. Heating the iron until it glows bright yellow, hammering it carefully along the grain, folding it for strength, shaping the edge with steady, rhythmic strikes. Each step demands patience, something you're not naturally known for, but somehow the rhythm calms you. Hammer. Flip. Hammer. Heat. Hammer. The storm inside you quiets a little with each strike, settling like a great bear curling into sleep. At one point, Finna watches you silently and mutters, "You're more focused than I expected." So am I. You're not fighting the heat, he observes, nodding at the glowing metal. Or yourself. You shrug. Feels right. He grins. Good. That's rare. When the shape is finally complete, he plunges the metal into a barrel of oil. Flames roar up for a moment, dramatic, loud, almost theatrical. Finna smacks the fire down with a wet hide. Ignore that. It always does that. Makes me look more impressive than I am. You chuckle. Next comes the handle, smooth ash wood, sanded by your own hands until it feels like it belongs to you. You wrap the grip in leather, tighten it, and finally attach the head, securing it with wooden wedges. When you step back, breath held, your axe sits in your hands like a living thing. Heavy, balanced, powerful, exactly right. Finna nods. Approvingly, name it. You blink. Already? A weapon without a name is an animal without a spirit. Name it. You stare at the blade, its edge gleaming sharp as winter sun on snow. The name comes to you without effort. Bjarnaklør, you whisper. Bearclaw. Finna's grin widens. Fitting. You heft the axe. It feels perfect, like an extension of your arm, like a promise, like a heartbeat. As you step out of the forge, the cold snaps against your flushed skin, but you barely feel it. The storm inside you hums in approval. A quirky historical tidbit slips into your mind. Archaeologists once found a Viking axe so massive, they first assumed it belonged to a giant or ceremonial figure. Later, they realized it just belonged to someone extremely strong and possibly a little unhinged. You silently hope yours doesn't fall into that category someday. You return to the village with Bjarnaklør in hand, and for the first time in your life, people look at you differently. Not like a kid, not like a potential problem, like a warrior in the making. And deep within you, the bear spirit stirs again, slow, warm, patient, waiting for what comes next. The morning after forging Bjarnaklør feels different, not because you slept better. You didn't. or because the village suddenly treats you like a full-grown warrior. They don't, but because holding the axe makes something inside you quiet. Not gone, just settled. Like the bear spirit inside your ribs has curled up in a den made of iron and ash wood and decided, for once, to let you breathe. But breathing won't last long. By mid-morning, the entire village gathers along the fjord. Longships bob on the water, sleek, carved beasts of oak with snarling dragon-head prows. Their hulls shine with fresh tar, shields lining the sides like colourful scales. A cold wind slices across the beach, whipping cloaks and hair. The salty scent of the sea blends with pine resin and wood smoke drifting from the longhouses. Everyone knows what this means. A raid, your first raid, and absolutely no one here looks nervous except you. Great. Halfdan stands near the lead longship, overseeing preparations with his usual expression somewhere between tired bear and angry father figure who has seen too much. When he spots you approaching with Bjarnaklur resting against your shoulder, he nods once. "You're ready," he says. "I don't feel ready." "That's how you know you're ready." You squint. "That makes no sense." Good. Keeps the ego small. You're beginning to suspect Viking training is 20% physical, 20% mental, and 60% weird cryptic advice that will only make sense 10 years from now. Halfdan gestures toward the longship. "Today you're not a berserker yet. You're a warrior in training. Stay near me. Watch. Learn. Do not let the storm inside you spill unless I tell you." You tighten your grip on your axe. "What if I lose control?" he grunts. "Then try not to hit anyone we like." Comforting. All around you, warriors pile supplies onto the ships, barrels of water, sacks of dried fish, coils of rope, bundles of arrows, spare shields. The clatter echoes across the fjord. Women fasten belts and adjust cloaks, some preparing to join the raid, others to stay behind. Kids run around shrieking with excitement, completely ignoring the relative seriousness of what's happening. One of the girls, Astrid, runs up to you. She's only 8, but already fearlessly climbing onto shields and barrels as if the world is her jungle gym. "Are you going to go fight?" she asks, eyes wide. "Maybe," you say, mostly watching. "You'll do great," she says confidently. "You don't look like someone who would die early." "Thanks," she beams proudly, entirely unaware she just gave you the second most backhanded compliment of your life. Gerund still holds the record. As you step onto the plank leading up to the longship, a wave of cold seawater slaps the hull. The ship rocks gently beneath your boots, a sensation both thrilling and terrifying. You take your seat on the rowing bench. The wood is smooth from years of hands, sweat, and stories. Halfdan sits beside you. He hands you an oar. "First lesson of sea raiding," he says. "Rowing is 90% of your job." 90? 95 on a bad day. A quirky historical tidbit stirs your memory. Viking raids were less about constant fighting and more about constant rowing. Some ships carried 30 rowers on each side, and they could travel hundreds of kilometers using a mix of muscle, wind, and sheer stubbornness. You're suddenly painfully aware of your upper body strength, or lack thereof. The ship's captain, Arnketil, raises his arm. His voice booms over the wind. "Row!" Dozens of oars plunge into the water, and the ship surges forward, slicing through the fjord like a fish through silk. You dig your oar into the icy water, arms straining as muscles complain instantly. Halfdan rows effortlessly, of course. You suspect he could row this entire ship by himself if necessary. Snow begins to fall, soft flakes that melt on your cheeks. The mountains loom behind you, dark against the pale sky. As the village fades into the distance, your heart clenches with a strange mix of fear and excitement. You're leaving home for the first time, leaving safety, stepping into the unknown. Arnketil strides along the center of the ship, booming voice echoing across the water. "Our target is a small settlement on the Western Isles, lightly guarded, fast strike." He grins, showing several missing teeth. "We'll be home before the next moonrise." You wish his confidence felt contagious. As the ship reaches open sea, the water grows rougher. Waves slap the hull, sending spray into your face. You row harder, heat building in your arms. The rhythm becomes hypnotic pull, breathe, pull, breathe. For a moment, the storm inside you stirs, matching the rhythm. Your heartbeat syncs with the waves. Halfdan notices. Good. Let the storm move with the world, not against it. You nod, breath sharp, lungs burning. Hours pass. The sea shifts from slate grey to shimmering silver as sunlight breaks through the clouds. Gulls circle above, crying loudly. The coastline behind you becomes a thin line. Then, suddenly, land. Low cliffs covered in heather rise ahead. Smoke trails drift from a small settlement perched near the shore. Wooden huts. A couple of boats. A watchtower that is honestly too small to watch anything effectively. Perfect, Anketil says. Your heart slams into your ribs. This is real, your first raid. And as the ship turns toward the shore, a strange sensation floods you, not fear, not excitement, but a deep, ancient readiness. The bear spirit inside you stands up, stretches, and opens its ember-bright eyes. Halfdan glances at you. Easy, he says quietly. Your time isn't yet. But you can feel it. The storm is rising. Not roaring, just rising. And something inside you hungers to prove itself. The ship grinds against the rocky shore. Warriors leap, out, splashing through the shallows. Arrows hiss through the air. Shouts rise. The smell of smoke, seaweed, and adrenaline mixes thickly in the air. You grip Bjarnakler so tightly your knuckles ache. This is it, the first real test. Your first step into becoming what you were meant to be. You inhale deeply and step off the longship. The moment your boots hit the rocky shore, the world narrows into sharp sound and sharper instinct. Waves crash behind you, cold spray nipping at your ankles. Ahead, the settlement erupts in frantic movement, villagers scrambling for cover, warriors grabbing shields, dogs barking as if announcing the end of days. Smoke curls into the air from a toppled torch, mingling with the salty sea breeze. Your fingers tighten around Bjarnakler, the leather grip warm against your palm, as though the axe itself is bracing for whatever comes next. But Halfdan's voice cuts through the chaos like a blade. Stay near me. Do not rush. You nod, pulse thudding. The bear inside your chest paces, awake, alert, but patient, for now. Warriors surge past you, seasoned raiders in layered wool and leather, shouting commands, forming a loose shield line as arrows whistle overhead. Anketil roars something about flanking right, though honestly, with the wind and shouting, it could have been about lunch. Viking orders weren't always poetry. A quirky historical tidbit flits into your mind. Some scholars still argue whether Vikings used detailed tactics or simply overwhelmed smaller settlements through speed, surprise, and noise. Judging by the current scene, noise seems to be doing a lot of work here. Halfdan gestures for you to crouch behind an overturned barrel. You obey instantly. Watch, he growls. Learn before you leap. You peek over the barrel. The settlement defenders are a handful of men with round shields, one elderly fellow waving a pitchfork, and someone's goat who seems very committed to standing in the way. The defenders form a wavering line near a storage shed, their faces pale. They're not trained fighters. Most probably woke up thinking today would involve chores, not an angry longship full of screaming strangers. Halfdan steps forward, bellowing a challenge. The nearest defender freezes for a moment too long, and one of your raiders sweeps his shield aside, knocking him off balance. You watch the clash with wide eyes. Wooden shields crunch. Feet slip in wet sand. Metal clangs. Shouts echo against the cliffs. Your instincts scream, go, move, hit something. But you clamp down on the feeling. Halfdan said watch. So you watch. A defender lunges at one of your warriors with a clumsy downward swing. The warrior sidesteps effortlessly and taps him on the head with the flat of his axe, just enough to stun him. Not lethal, not cruel, just practical. You breathe out slowly. This isn't the frenzied slaughter you'd feared. It's messy, chaotic, yes, but measured. Vikings weren't always. The mindless berserkers' sagas make them seem. Many raids ended with goods taken, property damaged, pride bruised, but lives spared when possible. You file that away as a real historical fact, something few bedtime documentaries mention. Suddenly, a sharp whistle cuts through the air. An arrow, a real one. It thunks into the post beside your head. Wood splinters. Your heart lurches. You twist around and see the source. An archer perched awkwardly on a roof, string already drawn for another shot. Halfdan moves instantly. Down! You duck as another arrow slices the air above your head. Halfdan charges toward the building, not recklessly, but with the confidence of a man who has definitely fought people while they were standing on roofs before. Several warriors cover his advance with shields. You swallow hard. This is your moment. The archer sees Halfdan closing in and panics, shifting his aim toward you. You don't think, you just move. Your legs push off the sand. Your boots crunch. Your breath cuts sharp through the cold. You raise Bjarnakler instinctively, angling the blade upward just as the arrow flies. Tonk! It lodges in the haft of your axe. Your eyes widen. Did you just block that? Halfdan reaches the building, shouting, "Climb!" And before you can question anything, your hands grab the wet wooden boards, feet scrambling for holds. You climb like a wild creature, fast, reckless, driven by heat under your ribs. The bear spirit inside you stretches awake, pushing power through your limbs. For a moment, everything is sharper. The wind, the rough wood, the scent of smoke, the pounding of your own pulse. You reach the roof. The archer turns. He's terrified, barely older than you. His hands shake so badly the bowstring slips from his fingers. You freeze. The bear surges. Halfdan's voice hits you like a thrown spear. Control. The word slices through the haze. Your breath catches. The storm recoils slightly, not gone but pulled back, held in the fist of your will. You step forward, slow and steady. The archer tries to retreat but nearly slips off the roof. You raise your axe but sideways, the blunt end. You tap it gently against his temple. He collapses instantly, unconscious but alive. You exhale sharply, heart pounding. Halfdan climbs up just as you lower your axe. "Good," he says, inspecting both you and the unconscious man. "You held your mind." "I think so," he grunts approvingly. "Better than your grandfather on his first raid. He demolished 3 carts because someone startled him." "Yes. And a chicken coop. Chickens everywhere." You choke on a laugh, shaky with leftover adrenaline. Halfdan's expression softens. You listen to the storm. You didn't let it rule you. That is the beginning of a berserker. Your chest warms at the words. You help Halfdan carry the unconscious archer down from the roof. The fighting below has dwindled to scattered skirmishes. Within minutes it's over. Your raiders gather supplies, tools, food, valuables, while leaving the villagers shaken, but mostly unharmed. Anketil calls out, "Back to the ships. Quick now. Tide turns soon." You follow Halfdan to the longship, Bjarnakler resting against your shoulder. The storm inside you simmers but doesn't boil. The bear spirit curls back into that inner den, not asleep, just watching. As you climb aboard, one of the warriors claps your shoulder. "Good work, cub," he says. You didn't panic. You consider telling him you nearly turned into a rage-fueled snow tornado, but decide against it. The ship pushes off from the shore. Oars dip into water. The village shrinks behind you. You stare out at the grey rolling sea and realize something. Today wasn't about fighting. It wasn't about victory. It wasn't even about proving yourself. It was about learning the truth. You can feel the storm rise, and still choose where it goes. The longship glides back into the fjord long after the excitement of the raid has faded into a strange mixture of pride, exhaustion, and the kind of shaky adrenaline that makes your hands buzz, even though the danger is over. Snow falls in slow, steady sheets, softening the world into pale silence. The oars dip rhythmically, cutting through the water with steady precision. You're sore, soaked, cold, and yet more awake than you've ever been. But once the ship reaches the village shore, the silence shatters. People rush to meet the returning crew, children cheering, dogs barking, elders inspecting the hall with expert squints. A few villagers slap the sides of the longship approvingly, as if complimenting a well-behaved horse. And despite all the noise, despite your own exhaustion, you can't help the small smile tugging at the corners of your mouth. You stepped onto that ship as a trainee. Now you return as something more. Not a berserker yet, but not just a child either. You are becoming. Halfdan nudges you with his elbow. "Wipe that grin," he mutters. "People will think you enjoyed yourself." You raise an eyebrow. "I did," he grunts. Worrisome. As you hop off the ship and wade into the shallows, your boots filling with icy seawater, a delightful sensation you rank somewhere between stepping on a Lego and biting into frozen cod, you hear a familiar voice. "Hey, you're alive!" Astrid barrels toward you, nearly tripping over her own enthusiasm. She circles you twice, eyes wide, mouth hanging open like a tiny, astonished fish. "Did you see a dragon? Did you fight 20 people? Did you eat someone's helmet like a bear?" You blink. "Why would I eat a helmet?" "I don't know," she shrieks joyfully. "You look like you would. You open your mouth to clarify that helmet eating is not, and hopefully never will be, part of your path. But Halfdan grabs you by the back of your cloak. Come. You need food. Food. Yes. Food is good. Food is safe. Food won't shoot arrows at your head. The longhouse feast is already in preparation by the time you arrive. Trays of roasted meat, bowls of steaming stew, mountains of bread, barrels of mead lining the walls. The scent of herbs and smoke fills the air, heavy and comforting. Your stomach growls loud enough to make Halfdan chuckle. Sit, he orders, gesturing to a bench. Eat, then listen. You drop onto the bench, Bjarnaklur resting at your side. Before you can even reach for a bowl, skalds, the poets and storytellers, begin circling the room, already composing their exaggerated accounts of the raid. One stops beside you, a feather tucked behind his ear. Tell me your part, he demands. You hesitate. I climbed a roof. He gasps dramatically. A roof? On your first raid? Incredible bravery. I also blocked an arrow with my axe, you add, slightly embarrassed. The skald gasps louder than any human needs to gasp. An arrow with your axe? Oh, the sagas will turn that into a lightning bolt by next winter. You try to protest, but he's already off, shouting rhymed phrases like storm child and roof climber of the Isles. Across the longhouse. Great. Fantastic. Exactly what you wanted. Nicknames you can't control. Across the room, people laugh, argue, toast, eat, and relive the day's excitement. Someone stands on a table and nearly breaks it. Someone else insists they single-handedly won the entire raid, despite having been asleep when it started. The longhouse glows with firelight, crackling hearths, and the warm hum of community. Then you notice Jorund. He sits near the back, arms crossed, watching you with a mix of curiosity and annoyance. He raises his mug in a half-hearted toast when your eyes meet. You raise an eyebrow. He ignores you. You're not sure if he's impressed, jealous, or plotting some elaborate snowball-based revenge. Jorund is a complicated guy like that. Halfdan returns with 2 heaping plates of food. He sets one in front of you. Eat. You burn through half your strength today. You take a bite of the stew and immediately remember why you like food more than fighting. Heaven. Hot, herb-rich, earthy heaven. Halfdan sits beside you, chewing thoughtfully. After a minute, he speaks. You controlled yourself today, he says. That matters more than swinging your axe. You swallow. It wasn't easy. It won't get easier, he replies, but you will. He takes another bite. You fought well enough today. But a berserker does not fight for glory, or chaos, or thrill. He looks at you, serious now. A berserker fights for purpose. You nod slowly. What's mine? That, he says, is what the next phases will reveal. As you eat, the skald begins reciting an improvised saga from the center of the hall. Across the storm of ice and foam, a youth climbed high to face the foe. With bare fire heart and winter's breath, they turned aside the archer's death. The meter is questionable. The rhymes are iffy. He also calls you bear cub of the pale dawn, which you hope does not stick. But the crowd loves it. People raise cups, chant, laugh. Your cheeks warm, part pride, part embarrassment, part blood returning to your face after nearly freezing during the raid. The feast rolls on into deep evening. Eventually, the skalds shift from dramatic boasts to quieter songs, stories of ancestors, of ancient voyages, of spirits who guide and trick and teach. One skald recites a lesser-known but true historical quirk. Some Viking Berserker rituals included chewing wolf hide or wearing animal bits not to become animals, but to channel their ferocity. Historians still argue whether those rites were symbolic, spiritual, or a clever way to scare the absolute daylight out of enemies. As the song fades, Halfdan turns to you again. Tomorrow, he says softly, your real training begins. Your pulse flickers. More than today? Much more, he replies. Your fury woke today. But waking is not mastery. You look at Bjarnaklur resting by your side, the edge glinting in the firelight. Outside, the wind howls softly through the cracks of the longhouse walls like a distant, sleeping bear. You close your eyes for a moment. The feast, the fire, the stories they're comforting, safe. But beyond them, tomorrow waits. And so does the storm. The next morning arrives, wrapped in a silence so heavy, It feels like the world is holding its breath. No feasting, no singing, no skalds shouting your new, hopefully temporary nickname across the village. Just cold air, pale dawn light, and the quiet groan of the longhouse roof settling under fresh snow. When you step outside, your lungs fill with air so crisp it almost stings. The bare-toothed talisman rests warm against your chest, as if reminding you, "Wake up, little cub, your work's not done." The village is subdued. Even the dogs are quiet, their ears twitching at sounds you can't hear. Winter has locked the land into a kind of bone-deep stillness. Frost clings to every branch, every rooftop, every breath. Snow muffles footsteps until each one feels like it belongs only to you. And in this deep quiet, Halfdan appears because of course he does, silhouetted against the pale sky. He looks bigger somehow, wrapped in heavy fur, beard crusted slightly with frost. "Come," he says simply. No explanation, no greeting, no gentle easing into the day. Just come. You follow him up a narrow trail that winds behind the longhouses and disappears into the forest. The snow is knee-deep, and each step requires effort. Your legs ache almost immediately. Halfdan, meanwhile, glides through the snow like it's barely a suggestion. "Where are we going?" you ask, breath fogging in front of you. "To learn silence," he replies. "I already know silence." "No," he says. "You know being quiet. Different thing. You're too cold and too tired to argue, but you're definitely filing that one under Viking wisdom that sounds meaningful, but currently makes you want to throw a snowball at someone." The forest grows denser. The trees stand like ancient guardians, branches heavy with frost. Not even birds chirp. It's the kind of stillness that makes you feel like you've stepped outside time. A real historical fact floats through your mind. Norse winters could last so long and hit so hard that entire months passed with little movement, forcing people into contemplative survival mode. Some historians still argue whether these long winters helped shape the Viking psyche, patience honed by necessity, ferocity sharpened by scarcity. You're starting to think they were onto something. Halfdan leads you to a frozen lake, its surface smooth and pale under the morning light. He stops at the edge. "This," he says, "is your teacher today." "The ice?" "No, the silence beneath it." He sits on a fallen log and gestures for you to do the same. "Listen," he orders. So you listen. At first, you hear nothing beyond your own breathing. Then gradually, as your heartbeat slows and your mind stops churning, you notice more. The faint crackle of shifting ice, the soft sigh of wind through distant treetops, the tiny pop of frozen sap inside a pine trunk. And beneath all of that, something else. A low hum. A deep, slow vibration. Like the earth exhaling. "The world makes noise even when men do not," Halfdan murmurs. A warrior must learn to hear what others ignore. You close your eyes. Your breath grows softer, slower. The bear spirit inside you stirs, not with restlessness, but recognition. This quiet is not emptiness. It's presence. Weight. Depth. Halfdan continues, voice low. "You think the berserker is only fury, only fire, only frenzy. That is what sagas show. But sagas lie." You turn your head slightly. "They lie? Poets exaggerate. Makes their stories worth mead." He snorts. "The truth. A berserker must be calm before rage, still before storm, controlled before unleashed." You breathe in sharply. Something inside you settles, like a stone dropping into a lake. "Your grandfather," Halfdan says, "could sit for hours without moving, listening, feeling, waiting. The storm inside him was strong, but he learned to temper it. It cost him much." He pauses. "He wanted you to know the quiet first." The words hit you harder than the cold. "He knew I'd become this," he suspected. Same eyes, same dreams, even the same stubbornness. You're not sure whether that last part is meant as a compliment. The quiet stretches, softer now. Not oppressive, just full. Then Halfdan stands. "Enough. Time for movement." Movement sounds great, because your legs are starting to freeze to the log. You walk with him to a small clearing where wooden poles stand half buried in snow. Training posts. Some cracked from old impacts, some carved with runes. "Hit one," Halfdan orders. You raise Bjarnakler, step into stance, and strike. The impact sends a shock up your arm, rattling your teeth. You hiss quietly at the sting. Halfdan nods. Again, you hit, and again, and again. Each strike precise, controlled, measured. The cold bites your cheeks, your arms burn, your breath fogs faster. Now, Halfdan says, listen again. To what? To yourself. You inhale deeply, and you hear it. The storm, the bear, the power swirling just beneath your ribs. Not roaring, not pushing, just existing. A presence waiting for your signal. Halfdan circles you. A berserker does not summon rage. Rage is always there. The summoning is control. You strike again. This time, the storm flares heat, shooting through your spine. Muscles tensing as if wanting to leap, claw, break. But you hold it. You breathe. You strike once more, slower this time. Deliberate. The storm simmers but stays contained. Halfdan nods approvingly. Good. This is winter training discipline when the world slows. Will we train like this every day? You ask, wiping snow from your brow. Every day, he confirms. Winter teaches patience. Spring teaches strength. Summer teaches courage. Autumn teaches endurance. You must master all seasons. That sounds exhausting. That's the point. You exhale a shaky laugh. Great. As the sun rises higher, turning the snow into a sparkling white field, you continue training, striking posts, practicing footwork, listening to the quiet beneath the world. At one point, Halfdan corrects your stance by tapping your heel with his boot, nearly knocking you over. At another, he scolds you for tensing your shoulders too much. But gradually, something shifts. Not your strength, not your speed, not even your technique, your mind. The storm stays present, but does not overwhelm. The bear spirit watches, but does not push. For the first time, you feel the beginnings of balance. By the time you return to the village at midday, sweat cooling under your layers, your muscles trembling from effort, you realize winter training is not a pause in the story. It is the foundation, the quiet before the battles, the stillness before the trance, the calm before the fury. And deep in your bones, the storm waits patiently, learning to breathe with you. The next days blur into a rhythm, quiet mornings, controlled training, long stretches of silence punctuated by Halfdan's occasional grunt of approval or disapproval. You can never predict which one you'll get. But today feels different from the moment you wake. The air seems unusually crisp, the snow crunches louder underfoot, and your bare-toothed talisman pulses faintly with warmth against your chest, as if anticipating something. You step outside the longhouse and instantly see movement near the center of the village. A circle of warriors gathered around the fire pit. Some lean on shields, others adjust sword belts, and a few whisper to one another in low, serious tones. Then you spot Halfdan standing straight-backed, arms crossed, face carved with the unmistakable expression of someone who is about to make your life more difficult. Wonderful. He beckons you over. When you reach him, he says, "Today, you swear your oath." You blink. What oath? He raises one bushy eyebrow. You think berserker training is just hitting poles and staring at frozen lakes? No. You must join the Shield Brothers. Your pulse jumps. But I'm not a berserker yet. You don't swear as a berserker, Halfdan says. You swear as yourself. A warrior. A member of the Felag, the Fellowship. The oath does not make you one of them. It makes you responsible to them. You swallow hard, the weight of the moment settling over you. You've watched older warriors take this oath before binding themselves to loyalty, honor, and shared survival. But it always seemed distant. Something for adults. Something bigger. Now it's yours. Halfdan gestures toward the group. Go. They're waiting. You step into the circle of warriors. The fire crackles in the center, casting warm light over snow-flecked cloaks and hardened faces. Your breath hitches as you realize who stands among them. Veterans from decades of raids, fierce shield maidens, broad-shouldered hunters, even Joran's father, whose size makes you reconsider whether giants are actually a myth. In the front stands Hakon, the war leader. His presence radiates calm authority. His beard is braided with bits of bronze, and his cloak is white as frostwolf fur, luxurious and intimidating. He looks at you. Kneel. You do. The fire pops. A single snowflake drifts onto your hand and melts instantly. Hakon speaks. Today, you join the Shield Brothers not in name but in purpose. You do not stand alone. You do not fight alone. You do not fall alone. He lifts a spear and touches its half to each of your shoulders, left, right, then heart. Repeat after me. You nod, throat tightening. I stand with my shield brothers. You repeat the words, your voice steady. I protect them as they protect me. Again, you follow. I share their victories. I share their burdens. I share their fate. Your chest warms strangely, not just pride, but belonging. Hakon continues, low and resonant. I do not betray. I do not flee. I do not fight without purpose. You speak the words as though carving them into your own bones. Finally, Hakon lowers the spear and steps back. Rise. You stand, and the warriors, every one of them, strike their shields with their fists in a single, thunderous beat. Thum. The sound vibrates through the ground, through your boots, through your spine. The bear inside your chest rises to attention, slow and solemn, as if acknowledging something sacred. Halfdan steps forward, carrying a thick leather bracer engraved with simple knotwork. He ties it around your right forearm. This marks you, he says. Not as Berserker. Not yet, but as a member of the Fellowship. Lose this, and you answer to me. Got it. You say quickly, because losing something Halfdan cares about sounds like the fastest way to meet an early grave. The warriors disperse, some clapping your shoulder as they pass. Even Jorund gives you a silent nod, which is basically a heartfelt compliment from him. When the crowd clears, Hakon stays behind with Halfdan. The two exchange a glance you don't understand. What? You ask, narrowing your eyes. Hakon folds his arms. There is one more thing. Oh no. Halfdan gestures to a circle of stone targets arranged on the snow. The oath binds you to the Fellowship, he says. Now you must prove you can act as one. You look from the stones to Halfdan. You want me to... What? Hit all of them? Not all, Hakon says. Just one. That seems easy enough. He holds up a blindfold. You stare. That seems significantly less easy. Halfdan steps beside you, placing a heavy hand on your shoulder. It is time you learn trust. Not in your eyes, not in your fear, in your instincts, in your spirit. You glance at Bjarnaklur, solid and reassuring in your grip. Fine, you sigh. Let's do this. Wearing the blindfold plunges the world into darkness. Sound sharpens, breath slows. The cold on your cheeks becomes a map of the air itself. Somewhere behind you, Halfdan speaks. Listen. You inhale. Snow crunches softly under a distant fox. Trees creak, wind sighs, and beneath all of it, the steady heartbeat of the bear spirit, slow and strong. Feel, Hakon's voice adds. Let your instinct guide you. Your hand shifts on the axe haft. Strike. You step forward, pivot, swing crack. You whip off the blindfold. One of the stone targets lies split cleanly down the center. Halfdan exhales, barely masking approval. Good. Very good. You blink in shock. Did I get it on the first try? Yes, Hakon says simply. Though historians still argue whether instincts come from the gods or the gut, you grin despite yourself. But the moment the fire of pride warms your chest, Halfdan points at 2 more stones. Again, you groan. Right, of course. For the next hour, you strike, miss, adjust, strike again. Each attempt sharpens something inside you. Your awareness, your patience, your connection to the spirit within. Not rage, not frenzy. Something quieter, deeper. By the time the training ends, your arms ache. Your breath fogs heavily. The bear inside you lies calmly, curled, satisfied. As you walk back toward the village, Halfdan speaks softly. You are no longer alone. Whatever storms come, you stand with the Shield brothers, and they with you. You touch the bracer on your arm. It feels like a promise and a warning, because tomorrow the path grows steeper. The mountain spirits await. The morning you set out for the mountains arrives with a cold so sharp it could carve runes into stone. Frost webs across the longhouse walls, each delicate crystal glinting like tiny shards of silver. You pull your cloak tighter and step outside, boots crunching on snow hard as iron. Even the air feels heavier today, like it knows what's coming, like it's warning you. Halfdan waits near the edge of the village, bundled in thick fur, leaning on a staff that looks like it was stolen from an incredibly annoyed tree spirit. His breath fogs in slow, steady clouds. When he sees you approaching, he nods once. You eat? Yes. You drink water? Yes. You bring binocular? You tap the axe on your belt? Obviously. Good. Then if you die up there, it won't be my fault. You blink. Can you stop saying things like that right before training? No. Right. Of course. He gestures toward the path winding between the snow-heavy pines. Today, you meet the mountain spirits. Your stomach tightens. You've heard stories, some whispered, some sung, some told only when fires burn low and people pretend not to be scared. The mountain spirits are old, older than the sagas, older than the ancestors. They do not care for praise or fear. They care for strength, purpose, and respect. Should I bring them a gift? You ask, because that seems like a reasonable, not at all panicked question. Yourself? Halfdan says. That is enough. Or too much. Hard to say. Again, incredibly reassuring. You begin the climb. The path starts gently, winding between trees frosted thick with snow. The forest smells of pine resin, cold earth, and the faintest hint of smoke drifting from the village behind you. Silence sits heavy on your shoulders. Occasionally, Halfdan grunts a lesson. Step on the uphill side of roots, not the downhill. Snow-covered rocks lie. If the wind sounds like it's whispering your name, it's just the wind, probably. You can't tell if he's joking. After an hour, the trees thin and the path steepens. The mountain rises above you, white, jagged, immense. Sharp ridges cut through the sky like broken teeth. You swallow hard. Are we going to the top? Of course not, Halfdan says. Relief floods your chest. Just most of the way. Relief leaves immediately. As you climb higher, the air thins. Your legs ache. The cold stings your face harshly. Several times you slip, catching yourself on rocks or stubborn determination. At some point, Halfdan hands you a strip of dried fish. Eat. You're slow when hungry. I'm slow when not hungry, you mutter. He grunts. At least you know. Hours pass. The sky shifts from pale blue to a steel grey that promises snow. The wind sharpens. Frost clings to your eyelashes. When you finally crest a ridge, Halfdan stops. This is the place. You glance around. The ridge opens into a narrow plateau ringed by jagged stones. Snow drifts lazily through the air. The silence is deeper here, thicker, older. It feels like stepping into someone else's house without knocking. A sudden chill prickles the back of your neck. You feel that? Halfdan asks. You nod. Good. They feel you too. You step cautiously into the stone circle. The bear spirit inside you stirs uneasy, curious, alert. Your breath fogs the air in slow, heavy clouds. You grip binocular tighter, though you know swinging it would be extremely frowned upon. Halfdan's voice softens. Close your eyes. You obey. Listen. At first you hear only the wind, but then faintly you hear something else. A low hum. A vibration beneath your feet, like the mountain itself breathing. Feel, Halfdan says. The ground pulses faintly. The stones whisper. Snowflakes swirl in a pattern too deliberate to be accidental. You sense presence plural, layered, ancient. Not human, not animal, something in between. Speak, Halfdan instructs. Your throat goes dry. What do I say? What you came to say. I don't know what that is. You do, he replies. Or you wouldn't be here. You inhale deeply. The cold stings your lungs. You step forward and rest your hand on the nearest stone. The moment your palm touches its icy surface, the hum intensifies. The wind stops completely, your heartbeat slows, and suddenly you're somewhere else. Not physically, but vividly. You stand in a vast night-lit expanse of snow, mountains rising like silhouettes against the stars. Shapes move between the peaks, tall, shadowy, shifting like smoke and stone at once. Their voices are low, rumbling through the sky and earth. You don't understand the words, but you feel them. Strength, purpose, patience, fear, fire, balance. Then one shape draws near. A massive outline, broad shoulders, towering height, eyes glowing the same ember red as the bear you saw in your vision. But this spirit is no bear. It's humanoid giant, but not quite giant. Something older. Something that walked the land before clans formed. before longhouses were built, before even the gods chose their places. It kneels slow, heavy, deliberate, and taps your chest with one finger. The cold surges through you like lightning, painful, shocking, clarifying. Your breath catches. When you blink, the vision dissolves. You're back in the stone circle, trembling, breath uneven. Halfdan watches you carefully. Well, I think they tested me. And I think I passed? Or you annoyed them, Halfdan says casually. Hard to tell, but you're still alive, so good enough. You exhale shakily. What did you see? He asks. A shape, you whisper, like a guardian. And it touched my chest. Halfdan nods slowly. The mountain spirits do not pick favorites, but they acknowledge strength and intent. He gestures for you to follow. Come, before the snow traps us here. As you descend the mountain, your limbs ache and your head swims with the memory of that immense presence. The storm inside you has changed again, not louder, not wilder, but deeper, grounded. As if the mountain itself lent you a piece of its silent power. By the time you reach the forest's edge, one thing is clear. You face the spirits. You endured their gaze, and you returned. Your grandfather never told you what he saw on his trial of the mountain spirits. But you suspect it might have been something very similar. You return to the village long after sunset, your legs aching from the climb, your lungs filled with air so cold it feels like you've been breathing sharpened snowflakes. Halfdan says nothing as you walk. He rarely does after something important. He gives you space to think, to process, to wrestle privately with whatever the spirits stirred inside you. By the time the longhouse roofs come into view, smoke drifting lazily into the night sky, you half expect something to feel different, changed, transformed. But the village looks the same. Children still chase each other around snowbanks. Dogs still rummage for scraps. A few warriors laugh near the fire pit, their breath fogging the air as they trade boasts that are absolutely exaggerated. Life goes on, unchanged by the fact that you just made eye contact, spirit contact, with something that existed before written history even bothered to get its act together. Halfdan stops at the longhouse door. Sleep, he says. Tomorrow, speak to Idis. You nod. Will she explain what I saw? Ha, he snorts. She'll explain something. Whether it helps is another matter. He leaves you with that wonderfully cryptic assurance and disappears into the dark. Inside, the longhouse is warm, too warm. The fire blazes brightly, crackling fiercely, as if trying to make up for the night's cold. You strip off your snow-damp cloak and sit near the flames, letting the heat soak into your bones. But the warmth doesn't settle your mind. The image of the spirit tapping your chest lingers its weight, its presence, the way your heartbeat changed afterward, deeper and slower, as if sinking to something older. The bear inside you feels quieter tonight. Not asleep, not gone, just watching. You sleep eventually, though sleep might be generous. Your dreams come in strange pulses, visions half remembered, voices half heard. Snow falling upward, a bear walking through fog, a towering silhouette crouching beside you, a rune glowing on ice. Something about starlight bending in the wrong direction. You wake before dawn, sweating despite the freezing air. Right. So, definitely time to visit the seer. Idis greets you at her doorway before you even knock. You saw something, she says simply. Yes. Come. Sit. Inside, the hut smells of herbs, smoke, and whatever mysterious things she simmered in bowls overnight. She pours tea into a wooden cup, dark, bitter, earthy, and pushes it into your hands. Drink. Your spirit shook last night. You sip it. It tastes like roasted moss mixed with regret, but it warms you instantly. Idis studies your face carefully. Tell me what happened on the mountain. You recount everything. The hum beneath the earth, the shifting shapes, the towering figure kneeling, the tap on your chest, the strange lightning cold that surged through you. Idis listens without blinking. When you finish, she exhales slowly and traces a symbol in the public. That was no simple vision, she says. It was a calling. You tense. Calling for what? Responsibility, she replies. Guardianship. Perhaps something heavier. The spirits do not touch without purpose. You swallow. What kind of purpose? One you will not like. She stands, rummages through a chest, and returns with something wrapped in cloth. When she opens it, your breath catches. A carved wooden mask, half of it shaped like a bear's muzzle, the other half carved in human features. The wood is old, worn smooth by time, the edges chipped. The eye sockets are deep, hollow, unsettling. You whisper, "What is that?" "Your grandfather's ritual mask," Idis says quietly. "He wore it during his trance ceremonies." Your heart freezes. "Trance? Ceremonies?" "The Berserker trance," she clarifies. "Not the rage you think of. A deep state. A bridge between spirit and body." You glance at the mask again. Did he lose control? Idis pauses. Long pause. Greatly concerning pause. Finally, she says, "He learned control, but not without cost." Cost? Storm spirits do not choose lightly, and they never forget their claims. Your chest tightens. Is that what touched me? A storm spirit? No. Her eyes sharpen. Something older. You sit very still. Older than storm spirits? Yes, she says, voice dropping low. Older than gods. Older than sagas. The early watchers, what your ancestors called the Fjallvatir, the mountain guardians. A chill skates up your spine. But why me? You whisper. Idis leans closer. Because you walk two paths, the path of the warrior and the path of the spirit-bound. Few can carry both. You exhale shakily. Is that dangerous? Unquestionably, she says, but also powerful. You're starting to understand why Vikings didn't bother with comforting explanations. The truth is never soft. Idis stands and gestures for you to follow her outside. Dawn breaks over the snowy hills, painting everything gold and silver. Your next trial does not wait, she says. Something stirs beyond the fjord. You frown. What? Before she answers, a horn sounds in the distance, a sharp, echoing note that cuts through the cold air. Alarm. You look toward the shoreline. Smoke rises. Too much smoke. Idis whispers, "A village beyond ours burns." Your heartbeat kicks into high gear. Halfdan emerges from the longhouse, jaw set, eyes already scanning the horizon. Warriors rush to gather shields and weapons. Idis touches your arm, her gaze steady. The trial is here sooner than expected. Go. You grip Bjarnaklar and feel the bare spirit coil with fierce readiness. You run toward the gathering warriors. As you reach them, Halfdan looks at you with strange intensity. Today, he says, you will learn what the trance truly means. Because whatever burns across the fjord isn't just an accident. It's a summons. A warning. Or both. And you are no longer allowed to stand back and watch. The mountain spirits have acknowledged you. Now the world tests whether you deserve it. The horn echoes across the snowy valley again, low, urgent, unmistakable, and the world around you sharpens instantly. Warriors spill from longhouses, grabbing shields, tightening belts, strapping on armor that glints dull in the pale morning light. The air fills with the clatter of buckles, the thud of boots, the bark of commands. Smoke continues to curl upward from across the fjord, a thick, rising column that paints the sky with dread. You grip Bjarnaklar, the leather grip warm from your hand, the blade heavy with expectation. The bare spirit inside you stirs, pacing in a tight circle beneath your ribs. Not rage, not fear. Something deeper, something like recognition. Halfdan marches toward the shoreline with grim focus. We sail, he says. Now. Who attacked them, you ask, falling into step beside him. Could be raiders, he replies. Could be a rival clan. Could be fools who forgot winter diplomacy rules. Winter diplomacy. Don't attack people in winter unless you want the gods to judge your intelligence. Seems reasonable, which is why it's rarely followed. That tracks. When you reach the fjord, the longship crews are already pushing the vessels from shore. The ships creak, tilt, then glide into the dark water. Warriors leap aboard, shields clattering, oars poised. Anketil stands near the prow of the lead ship, eyes narrowed, voice sharp. Ready the oars, move. Halfdan jerks his chin at you. Get in. You jump onto the second longship, landing on the wooden deck with a dull thud. The ship rocks beneath you like a restless beast. Snowflakes drift lazily from the sky as the boats push off, slicing through the icy water. You settle onto your rowing bench and grab the oar. Your muscles ache from yesterday's training, and the mountain trial from the day before feels like it carved hollows into your bones. But the urgency pushes everything else aside. Anquetil raises his arm. Row! The oars plunge. The ship lurches forward. Water slaps the hull. You row harder, breath fogging, fingers numbing despite the gloves. The fjord stretches wide and dark, framed by cliffs that loom like ancient stone guardians. Across the water, the burning settlement grows clearer. A cluster of huts engulfed in flames, smoke billowing in thick coils. Shapes move among the firelight silhouettes of attackers. You can't make out details yet, but something feels wrong. Off. The shapes move strangely, slowly, as if weighed down. Your heart tightens. Halfdan notices your stare. What do you see? I don't know, you say. But it feels wrong. Trust that, he replies. Instinct matters. A fringe historical tidbit flashes through your mind. Some Norse settlements believed that spirits or curses could twist people into frenzied states, making them move unnaturally during battle. Historians still argue whether this was superstition, early medical observation, or an excuse for losing difficult fights. But whatever is happening across the fjord, it does not look like ordinary raiders. As your ship nears the shore, you hear something. Not shouts, not screams. A kind of moaning, guttural and hollow, like wind scraping through a broken flute. The bear spirit inside you stiffens. The longships grind into the shallows. Warriors leap out, boots splashing into icy water. You jump after them, gripping Bjarnaklur tightly. The smell hits you immediately, smoke, yes, but also something sour and unfamiliar. Something like rotting pine needles mixed with iron. Halfdan grabs your arm. Stay with me. You nod. What are we facing? He squints at the moving shadows. Bandits, maybe. Or drunkards. Hard to say from here. The moaning grows louder. Now you see them clearly. Men, if men is still the right word. Their movements are clumsy, swaying, limbs dragging. Some slump forward unnaturally, their hands hanging limp. Their clothes are torn, their eyes unfocused, pupils huge and black. They wield weapons, but barely. They stagger more than walk. What happened to them? You whisper. Halfdan's face darkens. Cursed. Cursed by what? Someone foolish, he says, or someone powerful. A cold shiver runs down your spine. The lead attacker, staggering toward you, suddenly lets out a twisted cry and charges, if you can call it that. His steps are uneven, his grip on his axe sloppy but powerful. You raise Bjarnaklur on instinct. The man swings wildly. You block with the haft of your axe, sparks flying. The impact stings your arm. He presses close, breath foul with something that smells. Wrong. The bear inside you roars. You twist, pivot, and strike the man's wrist with the flat of your blade. His weapon drops. He collapses a moment later, unconscious. Not dead. You don't want to kill him. These people aren't warriors, they're victims. Halfdan shouts. Aim to disarm, not kill. Your warriors echo the order, moving carefully, strategically. Shields thump. Blades flash sideways, not downward. The cursed attackers fall one by one, dazed and confused. Then you hear a different sound. A cry. Sharp. Human. A young woman emerges from behind a burning hut, clutching a child to her chest. Her face is streaked with soot, her eyes wide. She stumbles toward the warriors. Help! She gasps. They took our elder. Who? Halfdan demands. The masked one, she cries. They dragged him into the woods. Your blood chills, masked one. Your mind flashes to the half-bare mask Idis showed you. Your grandfather's, a ritual mask meant for trance work, and someone else somewhere has a similar kind of mask. Halfdan's jaw tightens. A spirit worker, he mutters. Dangerous. The woman clutches. Your sleeve. Please. They went toward the old shrine. Halfdan looks at you. Not the warriors. You. Go, he says. Me? You can see clearly when others cannot, he says. And if this is spirit work gone wrong, your connection might keep you alive. Or get me killed. He nods. Yes, that too. You take a breath, grip your axe, and step toward the tree line. The smoke swirls behind you. The cursed villagers lie unconscious. The bear spirit stirs with deep urgency. The forest ahead is dark, quiet, expectant. As you disappear beneath the snowy branches, Halfdan calls after you. Find the elder and the source of this curse. You nod once, then you run. The bear inside you opens its ember-bright eyes. The trance waits, and the truth behind the curse waits with it. You don't forget the forest, the way the trees swallowed you, the way the air grew thick near the old shrine, the way you found the elder bound and shaking beside a circle of smeared runes that throbbed with wrongness. You don't forget the masked stranger who slipped away into the shadows, his voice echoing like cracked ice. This is only the beginning, bear child. You didn't catch him then, but you're here for him now. Months later, you stand on a rocky headland far from home, Bjarnakler in your hand, as the sky bleeds red over a fortress at the edge of the world. The long campaign, the second great voyage, the storms that nearly snapped your ship like driftwood, the sea so rough it tossed warriors around like dice in the hands of bored gods that all led here. The Jarls called it a measured response. Your arms call it endless rowing. The whale road carried you across iron-grey waves to distant coasts, where rumours told the same story over and over. A masked spirit worker, raids twisted by curses, men turned wild-eyed and half-mad. You followed those rumours like footprints in snow. Now you stand outside his stronghold. The fortress is no towering stone castle, more like a fortified hall complex perched on a cliff, with high wooden palisades, a stout gate, and earthworks dug into the rocky slope. Shields hang along the walls like dragon scales. Watchfires burn along the ramparts, the flames painting everything in ominous red light as the sun sinks behind the sea. Sieges, Halfdan mutters beside you, are just very long arguments with walls. Who usually wins, you ask? Depends who runs out of patience first. That doesn't sound encouraging. You and the other warriors crouch behind a crude shield wall of carts, planks, and upturned boats hauled from the beach. A proper Viking hack. Use whatever you have and make it look terrifying. A real historical fact pops into your mind. Norse armies were known for creating temporary defences called Skjaldborg shield forts, where overlapping shields formed movable walls. Here, you've upgraded with an entire collection of repurposed nautical furniture. Arrows, occasionally hiss down from the palisade. They thunk into the carts and shields with dull, spiteful impacts. One clatters off the top of your helmet. You wince. Still attached to your face? Halfdan asks. Mostly, you reply. Good. Keep it that way. The fortress defenders shout taunts in a dialect you half recognize, half don't. Their leader, you're told, is the masked spirit worker, the same one you chased from the cursed village shrine. The one whose rituals left men stumbling like puppets with frayed strings. Idis insisted he works with twisted spirits, which sounds like the kind of thing you'd prefer to fight from a very safe distance. On another continent, in another lifetime. Remember, Halfdan says quietly, this is not a raid, this is a siege. We are not here to burn and run, we are here to break their will. And the mask, you ask, his jaw tightens. We destroy it or claim it, if the spirits allow. You swallow. The sky deepens toward a bruised crimson as torches flicker along the ramparts. The smell of pitch and smoke thickens. Somewhere behind the walls, a drum beats a slow, steady rhythm. It makes your ribs vibrate. It makes the bear spirit inside you shift. Uncomfortable, as if recognizing an offbeat version of its own song. Historians still argue whether berserkers were used mainly as shock troops, Halfdan murmurs, charging first to break enemy lines, or kept close as personal bodyguards to jarls and kings. You glance at him. Which am I? He considers you for a moment. Tonight? Both. Oh, wonderful. Hakon, the war leader, moves along the shield line, cloak snapping in the wind. We test the gate, he announces. No full assault, not yet. Shields up, spears forward, berserker in training. He nods at you. With me. You step forward, feeling every gaze flick toward you, then away again. Your bear talisman rests hot against your chest. The mountains touch, the elder's warning, the seer's mask, all of it seems to converge in this moment. You take your place near the front of the formation. Remember what we practiced, Halfdan says, gripping your shoulder. You call the storm. You ride it. You do not drown in it. I know, you whisper. Say it again. I call the storm. I ride it. I do not drown in it. Good, he says. Now go prove it. You move with the others as the shield wall advances. Feet crunch on loose stone. Shields lock together. The fortress looms larger with each step, its gate an iron-banded mouth waiting to swallow you whole. Archers appear along the top of the palisade, silhouettes against the glowing sky. One of them wears a half-mask shaped like a snarling animal. Your heart stutters. That's him. The masked spirit worker raises one arm. The drumbeat inside the fortress changes faster, harsher. A strange energy ripples through the air, prickling your skin. Some of the defenders sway, strangely, heads jerking, eyes unfocused. You've seen this before, in the cursed village. People turned into vessels for something else. Rage floods your chest. The bear inside you slams against your ribs. The world narrows. You feel the trance rising not like a sudden explosion, but like a tide. Heat pours through your limbs. Your vision sharpens around edges of light and shadow. Sounds stretch, twist, slow down the creak of the gate, the snap of bowstrings, the hiss of arrows cutting wind. You could let it swallow you. You could become pure movement, pure fury. But you remember the mountain spirit's touch, the quiet beneath the ice, the training in winter's stillness, the blindfold and the stone, split cleanly in half. You breathe. You step into the trance deliberately. The storm does not take you. You take it. The world shifts. Colors deepen. Every detail becomes painfully clear. The grain of the wood in your shield, the knotwork carved into the gate planks, the tremor in the masked man's fingers. Now, Hakon roars. The front line surges. You hit the gate like a living battering ram, your axe biting into the wood. Splinters fly. Your arms hum with power, each swing heavier, faster, more precise. Arrows nick your cloak but seem almost slow, easy to twist away from. You hear the bear spirit roaring inside, not uncontrolled, but harnessed, channeled down your arms and into Bjarnaklur's edge. Beside you, warriors slam their shields into the gate. Others thrust spears through gaps, forcing defenders back. The masked spirit worker shrieks something in a language that curdles your blood. A wave of wrongness washes over you, nausea, dizziness, a sense of being yanked sideways out of your own skin. For a moment, the trance wavers. You see double the gate in front of you, and a shadow gate behind it, made of smoke and bones and writhing symbols. Figures claw at the inside of that second gate, elongated, twisted shapes that should not exist. They reach for you with two long fingers. Your grip falters. Focus. Halfdan's voice rips through the haze. You didn't even see him move into place beside you. Remember who you are. You suck in a breath so cold it burns. You remember the bear touching its forehead to yours. The mountain spirit tapping your chest. The oath at the fire pit. The Shield Brothers' single thunderous strike. You're not alone. You're not a vessel for someone else's chaos. You're the one steering. You plant your feet. Raw, not mindless, not empty, but full of your own voice, and swing Bjarnaklur with everything you've learned, everything you've endured. The axe head bites into wood, and through it, shattering a crossbeam. The gate shudders. Again. You strike, targeting the weakened point. The trance flows through you like a river held in strong banks. The storm rages, but it rages where you direct it. The third blow cracks the gate. The fourth breaks it. The fortress mouth explodes. Inward as planks splinter and collapse. Warriors surge through the gap, shields raised. The defenders fall back in panic, their curse-weakened movements no match for coordinated fury. You step through the shattered gate into a world of firelight and chaos, the red sky painting everything in the color of blood and rust. And there, on a raised platform near the central hall, the masked spirit worker stands half shadow, half man, arms held wide as if embracing the madness he's unleashed. The bear inside you leans forward. The siege is no longer just about walls. It's about him, and about whether the storm inside you can defeat the storm he's twisted outside. The moment you step through the fractured gate, the world seems to tilt, not physically, but in that unnerving way, where your instincts scream, something is wrong, yet your eyes insist everything looks normal. Firelight flickers across the courtyard of the fortress, casting long, twitching shadows that move almost independently of their sources. The air carries the scent of burning pitch, wet wood, and something darker underneath, a metallic bitterness that makes the bear spirit inside you bristle. Warriors flood in behind you, shields locked, voices raised in fierce shouts. Defenders scatter, some attempting to regroup near the long hall, others stumbling in the strange half-trance the spirit worker forced upon them. The drum you heard earlier continues its relentless beat, pounding through your ribs like a second heartbeat. Too slow, too hollow, too wrong. Your gaze snaps upward. There, on the raised wooden platform, stands the masked man. He wears the same carved half-mask you saw months ago, illuminated now by the firelight. It's shaped like the snarling muzzle of some unknown beast. Sharp teeth, elongated snout, eyes carved in spirals. Unlike your grandfather's mask meant for controlled trance work, this one radiates a twisting, frenetic energy, the kind that warps minds instead of focusing them. His cloak flutters in the wind, ragged and stained. He raises his arms slowly, deliberately, as though welcoming you. You, he rasps, voice cracking like thin ice. The bear child, I knew you would follow. Your grip tightens on Bjarnakler. The bear spirit inside you growls, low and dangerous. Halfdan steps to your side. Do not listen, he murmurs. His words are hooks. Then why is he talking like a villain from a badly sung saga? You whisper. Halfdan actually huffs what might be a laugh, because he is one. The masked man tilts his head slightly, as if hearing your private exchange. I watched you climb the mountain. I felt the spirits acknowledge your strength. But you let them tame you. The ground trembles faintly beneath your boots. Or maybe it's your pulse. He steps forward. Spirits are not meant to be controlled. They are meant to be unleashed. The drumbeat quickens. Somewhere behind you, a defender screams a raw, agonized sound as he collapses, clutching his head. Another doubles over. Another staggers toward your shield line with wild, unfocused eyes. Halfdan curses under his breath. He's pushing them too hard. Their minds can't hold it. Then we stop him, you say. Halfdan shakes his head. Not we. He grips your arm. You. Excuse me? You're tied to the spirits. He's trying to twist that connection into something monstrous. The Shield brothers hold the courtyard. You go to him. That seems like a terrible plan. Most worthy plans begin that way. Great. Fantastic. But even as your logic protests, your spirit responds. The bear inside you lifts its head, its ember eyes trained on the masked figure. You feel its weight, its patience, and its readiness. The trance trembles at the edge of your awareness like a tide begging to crash. You take a breath, deep, cold, steady. I'll go. Halfdan's eyes soften in a way you've rarely seen. Do not let him drag you into his madness. Your mind is your shield. Use it. You nod once. Then you run. The fortress courtyard explodes into motion around you. Warriors clash, shields slam, blades flash, bodies stagger and collide. Snow mixes with mud and spilled water, turning the ground slick under your boots. The wind howls between the buildings, carrying embers and ash. An arrow streaks past your shoulder. A defender lunges, wild-eyed, swinging his axe in a sloppy arc. You duck, sweep his legs, and keep moving. Controlled, focused, calm. No rage yet, not until you choose it. You reach the steps leading up to the platform. Each plank creaks under your weight. The masked man watches with unsettling stillness. He lowers his arms as you approach, and the drumbeat abruptly stops. Silence. Then he tilts his head. Do you know what your grandfather did to me? Your heart stutters. He taps his mask. He broke my first one. The courtyard seems to freeze around you. Halfdan never told you that part. Idis never hinted at it. Your grandfather faced this man, this twisted spirit worker, long before you were born. The masked man spreads his arms. He ruined my bond, forced me to start again. And now, his descendant walks willingly into my hands. The bear inside you snarls. You shake your head slowly. You're not touching my spirit. He laughs a horrible scraping sound. I already am. He slams his palm against the mask's cheek. The shock is instant. You feel the trance yank upward inside, you dragged, not summoned. Heat spikes behind your eyes. The world warps, doubling and twisting. The edges of everything tremble, as if seen through ice about to crack. You stumble. He's pulling you into his version of the trance. Chaos, frenzy, madness. No, you gasp, gripping your head. Yes, he whispers. Give in. Shadows ripple behind him, twisted forms, the same ones you glimpsed behind the shadow gate during the siege. They whisper, hiss, crawl across the wooden planks. Your heartbeat spirals into a frantic rhythm. Your breath shortens, your vision tunnels. The masked man steps closer. Let the storm devour you. The storm surges, And then, a voice. Deep, slow, calm. Breathe. The bear spirit steps into the storm like a mountain stepping into the wind. Its presence stabilizes everything. Your vision, your breath, your heartbeat. The frantic chaos inside you slows, grounds, balances. The masked man jerks back, surprised. What? You straighten, drawing in a slow breath. The trance rises, but under your command. Not his, not the spirits he twisted, not the madness he wields, yours. You open your eyes, and the world sharpens with crystalline clarity. The masked man recoils. Impossible. You raise binocular. No, you say softly, just controlled. The bear spirit roars, not blindly, not wildly, but with purpose. You charge. Your axe swings with perfect weight. Your boots grip the wood. Every movement flows like lightning wrapped in discipline. He flings out a hand, shouting another warped incantation. Shadows leap, but you cut through them. Literally, your blade tears through the illusion, scattering it like smoke. Sparks explode as you clash with the masked man. His staff blocks your strike, but the force shudders up his arms. He staggers. You're not stronger, you tell him. You're just unbound. And you, he spits, are chained. No. You raise your axe again. I'm focused. The next strike sends him crashing backward. His mask cracks down the center, just a hairline fracture, but enough to let out a hiss of dark energy. He scrambles away, clutching the splintering mask. You step forward, binocular ready. But before you can finish it, he leaps from the platform, disappearing into the smoke swirling below. Coward! You race to the edge and look down, but he's already vanished into the maze of buildings and fire. Snow begins to fall again, thick and silent, smothering the sounds of battle. Halfdan climbs the steps, breathing hard. He escaped? Yes. But you drove him off, Halfdan says, gripping your shoulder. And you mastered the trance. That is more important. You look at the crack in the mask's memory, the tremble in your arms, the pulse of the bear spirit inside you. Steady, strong, present. You didn't drown. You rode the storm. You controlled it. Halfdan meets your eyes. Your path just grew more dangerous, but also more clear. You nod slowly. Snowflakes melt on your cheeks. The masked spirit worker fled. But he will return. And next time, he won't be facing the bear child. The fortress smolders behind you long after the battle ends. Flames hiss against falling snow, turning white flakes into steam that rises in ghost-like tendrils. Warriors gather the wounded, bind cuts, share water, and recount the fight with the exhausted bravado of people who survived something they don't yet fully understand. But your mind is far from the courtyard. You can still feel the masked spirit worker's presence in your bones. His voice, his desperation, his hatred for your bloodline. And beneath it all, the memory of him yanking on your trance like a puppeteer testing the strings. You resisted, but only barely. Halfdan walks beside you as you inspect the broken gate. He doesn't speak for a long while, which is unusual. Halfdan usually fills silence with commentary, corrections, or insults disguised as encouragement. Tonight, he lets silence do the talking. Finally, he says, "Your spirit was tested today." You nod, and you came back. Another nod. But you didn't come back the same. That one makes you pause. What changed? Halfdan strokes his beard thoughtfully. Storms always leave something behind. He taps your chest. Sometimes it's a tree torn out of the earth. Sometimes it's a new river carved through stone. What did yours leave? You don't answer immediately, because you're not sure. You only know that something inside you is different, stronger, heavier, but also more precise. The trance responded to your call today the way binocular responds to your grip. Firm, reliable, purposeful. That should feel comforting. It doesn't, because you remember the moment the masked man tried to pull you under, the vision of twisted shadows, the echo of the curse thrumming in the ground, the way your spirit wanted desperately to leap forward and tear the mask from his face. You controlled it, but you felt the temptation. You exhale. I don't know what's changed, but it's awake. Halfdan nods. That is enough for now. As the warriors secure the fortress, you wander toward a lone building near the cliff's edge. It's partly collapsed from the fighting charred timbers scattered like broken ribs. Snow gathers in drifts around the ruins. Something draws you closer. A whisper, barely audible, not external, internal. The bare spirit shifts, uneasy. You crouch beside the remains of a storage hut. Under a beam half buried in snow lies a body the elder you were meant to find. His face is peaceful, lined with age and wisdom. His hands are clasped tightly around a small object. You pry it free, carefully. A fragment of a mask. Not the one the enemy wore, but something older, more worn. Its carvings mimic the patterns etched into your grandfather's ritual mask. Swirling lines depicting the balance of spirit and flesh. The elder held onto it until his last breath. A chill runs through you. Halfdan approaches you quietly. That belonged to him, he says. He guarded it until the end. What is it? Half of a spirit mask. The other half is the one you saw your enemy wearing. Your breath catches. He completed his mask by stealing this. Halfdan nods grimly. And by merging two halves that should never have been joined. You turn the fragment in your hand. Its wood is warm alive. And as you focus, you sense it. A quiet hum, like a heartbeat. A steady rhythm. The opposite of the twisted energy the masked spirit worker wielded. Can this be repaired? You ask. Halfdan shakes his head. Masks are not repaired. They are reborn through ritual. And you... He pauses, his gaze heavy with meaning. You may have to forge a new one. A mix of dread and certainty settles over you. Me? Your spirit path began long before this raid, Halfdan says. Your dreams, the bear, the mountain, your grandfather's legacy. Now this. He gestures at the shattered fortress. This conflict is not just a battle of men, it is a battle of paths. Paths, plural. The masked spirit worker follows a path of chaos unbound, uncontrolled, using spirit energy to break minds. You follow a path of balance, storm held in restraint, strength shaped into purpose. But both paths are linked now, intertwining like knots in a rune. You stand slowly. He'll come again. Yes, Halfdan says. And next time, he'll be ready. So will I. Halfdan gives a short nod. Then we leave this place. You've seen enough. But as you turn, the wind shifts. Snowflakes swirl around you, and for a moment, you see something in the air. Not a vision, not a spirit, a memory. Your grandfather, younger, standing beneath the same sky, holding a mask shaped like a bear's muzzle. His eyes carry the same storm yours now hold. He turns, looks at you and whispers, "Control is harder than fury." Then the snow whips harder, and the image vanishes. You stand motionless, heart pounding. The bear spirit inside you breathes slowly, its rhythms deeper, stronger, resonant with the mountain's touch and the combat's awakening. Halfdan watches your expression and says quietly, "You saw something." You nod. "I saw him." Halfdan closes his eyes briefly. "Then your path is certain." You grip the mask fragment. The storm inside you tightens, no longer thrashing, no longer wild. Focused. For the first time, you truly sense what a berserker is meant to be. Not a weapon of destruction, a weapon of purpose. And that purpose is drawing near. Because the masked man fled. He escaped into the night. But trails, especially spiritual ones, leave marks. And tomorrow, you will follow them. Snow falls in soft, whispering sheets as you leave the ruined fortress behind. Mask fragment tucked safely inside your cloak. The longships cut through the dark water on the journey home, but your mind doesn't travel with your body. It lingers in the shadows of the broken gate, on the splintered mask, on the masked spirit worker slipping away like smoke through tree branches. Every oar stroke thuds like a reminder. He's still out there. He's not finished. And neither are you. By the time the village's shoreline rises into view, the sky is a dull grey, heavy with more snow. Children run along the docks shouting greetings, dogs bark in chaos, and smoke curls gently from longhouse chimneys. Everything looks peaceful, normal, even though nothing inside you feels normal anymore. You step off the ship and watch your breath fog the air, feeling strangely separate from the scene around you. Then you see Idis. The seer stands at the edge of the dock, her cloak dusted with snow, expression unreadable. But the moment her eyes meet yours, something shifts, like she's seeing the change Halfdan mentioned before you can even explain it. "You carry something heavy," she says. You reach into your cloak and place the mask fragment in her palm. Her eyes widen just slightly. This should not exist. Halfdan said the same. She brushes her thumb over the carvings. This fragment belonged to an old path, a path of balance, a path your grandfather followed. She pauses. And now it calls to you. You feel a strange tightness in your chest. The masked man, he had the other half. Idis's gaze darkens. He twisted it, broke its purpose. He created a mask the spirits never intended. And he wants me, you add quietly. He wants your strength. Adis corrects. Your control. He wants what he could never master. Her words settle like frost on your skin. Before you can ask more, Halfdan joins you. Come, he says gruffly. Rest, eat, breathe. Everything else waits until the healing is done. But you know he doesn't mean physical healing. He means the healing of the storm inside you. The longhouse is warm, almost stifling after the cold journey. Furs hang from the rafters, and the fire crackles brightly in the center pit. People welcome you with proud claps on the back, telling you that you look taller, stronger, slightly less likely to implode during training. Jorund even manages a grudging, good strike on that gate, which may be the closest thing to praise he's ever given anyone. But when the crowd thins and the evening grows still, your gaze drifts toward the empty spaces. Your home feels different. Your mother's loom sits where it always has. The carved wooden posts still hold up the roof. The dried fish still hang from the ceiling beams. But the warmth that once wrapped this place feels gentler, thinner, like something has shifted between you and the world you thought you belonged to. You step back outside. Snow has begun to fall again, soft, steady, the quiet kind that blankets everything without asking permission. You walk, past the longhouse, past the training yard, past the vacant blacksmith forge, up the hill where you watched ships glide across the fjord months ago. The village grows small beneath you. The world stretches out, white and endless. You think of the masked spirit worker. You think of the bear in your dreams, the mountain guardian, your grandfather's mask, the spirit path you never asked for but cannot escape. A voice breaks your thoughts. Figured I'd find you here. You turn. Jorund stands a few paces away, arms crossed, breath fogging in steady clouds. He looks awkward, not his usual confident swagger, but something softer beneath the usual smirk. You did well, he says begrudgingly. You raise an eyebrow. That sounded dangerously like a compliment. It wasn't. He kicks a clump of snow. Well, maybe it was. Don't tell anyone. A small laugh escapes you. Your secret is safe. Jorund hesitates, then asks, Are you leaving? Again? Probably, you admit. He's still out there. He nods, slowly. Good. Because if someone messed with our people, someone should chase him, beat him, bring him back tied to a tree. You smile faintly. Planning to help? Jorund snorts. Absolutely not, but I'll brag about your achievements when you're gone. Good to know. He gives a curt nod, then turns back toward the village, mumbling something about needing to feed the goats before they rebel. But he stops halfway, glances back, and adds, Don't die, okay? You blink. That's an order, he clarifies, then disappears down the slope. The snow keeps falling, and the quiet returns. But this time, the quiet doesn't feel empty. It feels like a threshold, a place between what was and what you're becoming. That night, your dreams blaze vivid. You stand again before the mountain spirit, towering, ancient, watching. You walk through a forest of glowing eyes. You feel the bear spirit rise within you, not as fury, but as duty. And in the final moment, you hear a whisper. The path leads home, but the trial leads away. You wake with your heart pounding and snow melting on your eyelashes. You must have stepped outside without realizing it. In the distance, across the fjord, something flickers. Another fire. Not large, but deliberate. A signal. He's calling again. But this time, you don't feel fear. You feel readiness. You feel purpose. You feel the bear inside you open its eyes and stand tall. You turn toward the fjord, gripping your cloak tighter, breath curling like smoke. The masked man thinks he can shape you into his weapon. He doesn't understand. You are shaping yourself into something else entirely. Something stronger, something steadier, something he should fear. And in the cold hush of dawn, you whisper into the snow, I'm coming. Dawn cracks open like a blade of pale gold sliding across the horizon, cutting through the heavy grey sky. The signal fire across the fjord burns low now, a thin column of smoke rising like a question you haven't answered yet. The village stirs behind you, dogs barking, wood being chopped, warriors stretching sore limbs from yesterday's drills, but none of those sounds reach the quiet core inside your chest, because today is not a training day, not a feast day, not even a day of rest. Today is the beginning of the final raid, the hunt Halfdan warned you about, the confrontation Idis hinted would come, the culmination of every lesson, every trance, every whispered vision that shaped you since the night the bear first stepped out of the dream forest. You tighten your cloak around your shoulders as Halfdan approaches, boots crunching on fresh snow. He looks older today, not weak, not tired, but solemn, in a way that presses against your ribs. He hands you a thick bundle, dried meat, flint, spare bindings, herbs tied with twine. You'll need food, he says. And fire. And luck. You sling the pack over your shoulder. You're not coming? He shakes his head slowly. This path isn't mine to walk. You know this. Your throat tightens. But what if Halfdan cuts you off with a raised hand? You've grown beyond my reach as a teacher. There are places I cannot follow. One of them is wherever your spirit is leading you. The bear spirit thrums faintly under your sternum, steady, warm, listening. Halfdan clears his throat, uncomfortable with emotion. Also, my back hurts, so climbing cliffs for another cursed chase is not appealing. You stare. He shrugs. Honesty. A small laugh escapes you, but it's thin, strained. Truth is, you wanted him there not to fight your battles, but to anchor you, to witness what you're becoming, to steady the storm if it slips. But some journeys, as every saga reminds you, have to be walked without the old mentor at your side. Idis joins you next, her cloak jingling with soft charms. She presses a small pouch into your hand. What's this? You ask. Charcoal, ground iron, and crushed juniper, she says. If he tries to twist your mind again, scatter this into the air and breathe deeply. It will help anchor you. Anchor me to what? Yourself. A quiet shiver spiders down your spine. Idis studies you for a long moment. You're afraid. You don't deny it. Yes. Good, she says. The fearless die faster. The fearful learn. She rests her hand over your heart, directly over the bear-toothed talisman. Your spirit is strong. Stronger than his. But strength alone won't win this. Control will. She steps back. Go with the mountain. Go with the bear. Go with yourself. You nod, jaw set. As you start toward the beach, a voice calls out. Hey! You turn. Jarun jogs toward you, hair wild, breath-puffing clouds. He carries something behind his back. When he reaches you, he clears his throat awkwardly and thrusts a small bundle forward. It's a wool scarf, badly knitted, slightly uneven, possibly cursed by a goat at some point. For warmth, he mutters. You blink. Did you make this? No, he snaps too quickly. Then quieter. Yes. A smile tugs at your lips. Thank you. Don't die, he blurts. I'll try. And bring back something cool, he adds, crossing his arms. Not like a rock or whatever. Something saga-worthy. You shake your head, amused despite everything. I'll see what I can do. Behind him, Astrid appears, waving a wooden toy bear she carved herself. Bring him back tied to a tree, she shouts. Or 2 trees, Halfdan groans. We need to stop telling children about war. You wave once more to them all, then step into the longship waiting on the frozen shore. Only a small crew is joining you, 5 warriors, no more. Not a raid party. A retrieval party. A pursuit. The sea wind howls as you shove off. Oars dip into icy water. The fjord stretches ahead like a cold silver road leading straight to the unknown. Snowflakes sting your cheeks as the longship glides across the water. You don't speak, neither do the others. There's a heaviness settling over everyone, a sense that this is no ordinary hunt, no ordinary foe. When you reach the far shore, the landscape hits you like a memory. Pine trees warped by winter, rocks glazed with ice, a faint path winding toward the mountains beyond. This is where you found the cursed village months ago. But now the huts lie abandoned, roofs collapsed under snow, doors hanging crooked and open. Silence hangs like a shroud. Tracks lead north, one warrior says, squatting near the frozen ground. 2 days old, heavy, fast. Towards the old shrine, where it began, you move through the forest quietly, binocular strapped to your back, breath fogging in slow bursts. The deeper you go, the more the air changes. Not colder, thicker, like wading through invisible water. The bear spirit inside you stirs, fur bristling. By midday, you reach the ruins of the shrine. Smoke still rises from its stone circle. Runes twisted, carved with frantic, uneven strokes cover the altar. The same offbeat rhythm hums faintly beneath the ground. He's been here, and he's close. Your pulse quickens. One of the warriors touches the stone and jerks his hand back, wincing. "Feels wrong," he murmurs, "like fever." Before you answer, the wind shifts. A whisper skates across the snow, not in words, in intent, predator. You turn slowly, and there he stands, the masked spirit worker. But not as you remember. His mask is repaired not perfectly, but crudely, stitched with wire and pitch. Dark symbols smolder across its surface. His posture is different too, more hunched, more feral, more consumed. The twisted spirits writhe behind him in faint, unnatural ripples. He speaks in a hollow, echoing voice. "You followed." "Yes," you say. "You survived." "Yes." "You grew." You lift your chin. "So did you." The masked man spreads his arms, cloak flaring like wings made of shadow. "I took what your ancestors denied me. Power without restraint, rage without chains, spirit without rules. That's not strength," you say quietly. "That's surrender." He laughs sharply. "And you? You cage yourself. You leash the storm. You cling to balance like a frightened child. You step forward, slowly. Balance is harder than chaos." The mask flickers as if reacting to your words. You continue, voice steady. "Anyone can fall. Not everyone can stand." The bear spirit inside you rises. The trance ripples at the edge of your awareness, eager but waiting. The masked man's fingers twitch. Shadows writhe. "Show me your control then," he hisses. "Show me your storm." He slams both palms to the ground. The world splits open. Snow spirals upward. Trees bend as if bowing to an unseen force. The twisted spirits surge toward you, shrieking without sound. Your warriors stagger back. But you stand firm. You close your eyes. You breathe. And you choose the trance. The storm rises, not exploding, not consuming, but unfolding with precision. Warmth pours into your limbs. Your heartbeat slows, becomes deep and steady. The bear spirit steps into you, fully fur, claws, heartbeat, breath melding with your body like two halves of the same truth. You open your eyes. The world blazes with clarity. The masked man recoils. "No, no, that is not possible." You step forward. Your voice is quiet but filled with the mountain's weight. "I am not your storm." You raise binocular. "I am mine." The final battle begins. The world narrows to a single moment. White snow swirling like ash, dark trees bowing in unnatural arcs, firelight flickering in the runes carved into the shrine stones. The masked spirit worker stands before you, cloak writhing as if alive, shadows stretching off him like spider limbs. Behind him, the twisted spirits you've glimpsed before flicker in and out of reality, elongated silhouettes, jointed wrong, whispering in tones that vibrate in your teeth. But you? You are steady. The trance settles over you like a mantle, warm, immense, controlled, no frenzy, no blindness, just focus, sharpened to a blade's edge. The bear spirit inside you is not pacing, not roaring, not pulling at the reins. It stands with you. Your breath fogs the air in slow, rhythmical bursts. The masked spirit worker thrusts both arms forward. Dark tendrils lash from his fingertips, snaking across the snow. They hiss as they approach, leaving trails of dead frost behind. The spirits surge with them, wailing shapes that walk on broken limbs. Your warriors retreat behind the tree line, fear tracing their features. You hear Halfdan's old warning echo in your memory. Some fights are not meant for shield brothers. You plant your feet. The trance hums through bones and muscle. Your senses bloom outward. The crackle of frozen bark, the shifting weight of snow on branches, the heartbeat beneath the ground, slow and ancient. And over all of it, your own pulse, steady as a drum, deep as the mountain, sinking with the bears. The masked man snarls and sends another wave of twisting shadow. You step into it, not dodging, not fleeing. moving with the storm you've tamed. Bjarnakler cleaves through the tendrils not because they're physical, but because your spirit has weight now, shape now. Sparks of pale golden light burst with each strike, flaring against the gloom. The masked man recoils. Stop holding back! Let it devour you! No! You close the distance. He slashes his staff at you. You block, twist, force it aside. His body moves wrong too fast in places, too slow in others, like something else is piloting him badly. You could have been like me, he screams, voice split, distorted by the spirits crawling through him. You could have wielded real power. This is real, you say, and strike again. Your axes meet. The impact jolts through both of you. His mask cracks further, a long fracture splitting across the cheek. A dark wail spills from the gap, one of the twisted spirits tearing free for a heartbeat before snapping back into him. He drops to one knee, panting. You think you control it? He rasps. You think the storm cares about your discipline? His voice breaks. It will consume you. Sooner or later. The bear spirit inside you rumbles a deep, slow, patient sound. You step closer. You surrendered to the storm, you say gently. I learned to stand inside it. He lunges, desperate, swinging his staff with frantic strength. You parry with ease. Every blow he throws is wild. Every strike you answer is precise. The trance is no frenzy. It is a conversation between spirit and body. A balance. He shrieks in frustration and smashes his staff into the snow-covered earth. A shockwave bursts outward like a ripple of black water, and the twisted spirits surge at you in a tidal wave of claws and teeth and smoke. Your breath slows. You inhale. And you unleash, not rage, but clarity. You swing Bjarnakler in a wide arc. Golden light erupts from the blade, slicing through the twisted forms. They disintegrate into fragments of shadow and light, sucked, screaming back into the cracks of the mask. The spirit worker stumbles backward. No, he gasps. No, the mask obeys me. He raises it, both hands shaking, and the cracks blaze with sickly dark light. The spirits strain against it, writhing, wanting out, wanting you. You walk toward him. He retreats. Stay back. You keep walking. The bear spirit within you steps in rhythm, each footfall heavy with purpose. The trance brightens along your veins, cool, controlled fire. You speak softly, like calming a frightened animal. You broke the mask's purpose. That purpose is mine, he roars. No, you say. It never was. You swing Bjarnakler downward. He lifts the mask to block. The blade shatters it. The mask breaks into a burst of blinding gold and choking black smoke. The twisted spirits scream high, distorted cries then scatter like ash on the wind, dissolving into nothing. The masked man collapses to the snow, coughing, shaking, the remnants of dark energy leaking from his fingers like fading embers. When he looks up at you, his face unmasked, Bear shows a flicker of something you didn't expect. Fear, not of you, of the emptiness left inside him. You don't understand, he whispers hoarsely. The storm, I needed it. You kneel beside him. I know, you say. I nearly drowned in it too. He stares at you for a long moment, eyes glassy, unfocused. Then he slumps forward onto the snow, unconscious, not dead, but emptied, like a vessel poured out. You stand there a long moment, listening to the wind, listening to your pulse, listening to the quiet. The storm inside you settles. Not gone, not quiet, simply resting. Your warriors finally emerge from the tree line, awe in their eyes. Jurund would brag for a year if he saw this. Halfdan would complain about the mess. Idis would say the spirits aren't finished with you yet, and she'd be right, because you're not just someone who survived the trance. You mastered it. The bear spirit hums gently inside you, as proud, patient, and immensely calm as a mountain at dusk. You sling Bjarnakler across your back, lift the unconscious spirit worker with effortless strength, and begin walking toward the fjord. Snow crunches softly under your boots. The forest breathes slowly around you. A new path opens quietly beneath your feet, one you now face with eyes open, spirit steady, and storm at your command. You are no longer the bear child. You are the last wolfskin, the berserker, who stands between chaos and balance. And your saga is only beginning. The snow softens as you walk, each step settling more quietly than the last. The cold air that once stung now feels gentler, brushing across your cheeks like soft fingertips. The forest around you, once filled with danger and movement, eases into a hush, a natural quiet that feels earned, familiar, almost warm. Even the bear spirit inside you, so fierce moments ago, settles down like a great creature curling into its den, watching the world through half-lidded eyes. You breathe deeply, and the breath comes easier now, slower, longer. The rhythm no longer pounds like a drum of battle but stretches out into a calm tide, in and out. Each exhale releases the weight of the fight. Each inhale gathers the steady strength of the earth beneath your feet. Snow drifts peacefully, spinning in lazy spirals before melting on your skin. The world no longer demands anything of you. It simply sits with you. Your steps carry you through, the quiet, past trees that seem to lean closer, as though acknowledging what you've endured. The trance has faded into something gentler, just a warm glow in your chest, a reminder that power can rest too. And with every moment that passes, your muscles loosen, your thoughts drift slower, softer, like winter fog rolling over a still lake. You find a calm place inside yourself, a den of your own making, where the storm has no reason to rise and the world expects nothing at all. You stay there as the snow falls, letting the softness of the moment wrap around you like a warm pelt, comforting and steady. And after a long, quiet breath, you let everything go.